Let me just text it. Okay, we will call to order the June 8th workshop meeting. But stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Allen. Here. Councilman Potts is absent. Councilman Sweezup. Here. Supervisor Baden.
Here. Oh, Adam did tell me it's there's Posey's graduation tonight. I forgot he had told me. Ask for acceptance of the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor. There'll be 3 additions. One is May financial report, which was not done for the June 1st meeting because it was June 1st. I have that information. We have a request from the HPC that I'd like us to consider tonight. And I asked the highway superintendent after last week's meeting if it was possible to get the 284 agreement, tonight, and I got it this morning. So with those 3 additions,
Make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay, the first is a request from Friends of Historic Rochester. The proposed resolution would be the Town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to sign a contract with Santor's World Famous Fireworks LLC, P.O. Box 687, Stillwater, New York 12170, in the amount of $4,200 for sponsorship of Heritage Day fireworks on October 7th, 2023.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
We did budget for this. So we budgeted a little bit more than that,
Right.
so we are fine. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Great.
Thank you.
I'll get that signed, Kate, and you can tell me what.
They already sent me the contract, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait on this first. And then I'll get to you.
Yeah, you sent me the contract.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, you sent it to me. How are you, Peter? How are you doing? Good. Next is our financial report. It has been filed with the town clerk, and there are copies in your folders for highway fund, general fund. And I started also doing the street lighting fund. Never done it before, but this way you can see where we stand on that as well. The revenues for May 2023 for the general fund, $90,267.90. For the highway fund, $113,201.06. The abstract paid out expenditures, the general fund, $177,480.98. The highway fund, $167,387.87, and that was corrected at posting. The capital fund, $72,699.17. The street lighting fund, $363.77. The ambulance fund, $0. The escrow fund, $8,793.79. Total expenditures for May, the general fund, $296,560.93. Highway fund, $231,866.66. Capital fund, $72,699.17. Street lighting fund, $363.77. Ambulance fund, $0. Escrow fund, $8,793.79. So I'd ask for a motion to approve that financial report.
Make that motion.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, we don't need a motion for that. We only do a motion when we pay the bills. I was thrown out of sorts. So you may want to keep the highway fund close at hand, because when we talk about the 284 agreement, it will be very helpful in the discussion process. Upcoming events reminders. Charlotte, I just wanted to give you an opportunity for the YouTube to just the June 15th event.
Yep, June 15th from 12:30 to 1:30 here at the community center. We're gonna have a elder resource Q&A kind of situation with coffee, tea, and light refreshments. So it's just gonna have resources from the assessor's office for exemptions. We're gonna have resources from Office of the Aging, our elder care program, and then both pantries that cover the town. So we hope that people come and get some coffee and tea and a snack and see what's available to them. And then 12:30 to 1:30.
And then Aaron, the June 17th Fire Brigade?
Yes, the tire pull is June 17th. I don't have the flyer with me.
It's okay.
But I'll be there.
It's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think.
So I can pull it up.
I know it's ending. It's okay. I know it ends.
But anyone who has a boat, please email the ECC to let them know if you can come. And then I know they're working on the logistics. So.
And then the town board will be holding another workshop meeting next Thursday, June 15th. That will be starting at 5:30 p.m. That will be at the Rochester 2 Firehouse. Thank you, Peter, for the fire district for allowing us to use that space. And it will be for a continuation of review of the zoning code, like we did last month and like we're going to do tonight. And we'll be doing many more meetings between now and the end of August. So moving on to discussion items. Why don't we just sort of pick off the HP request first? Kate can sort of present their request.
So the HPC, they're doing a series they're calling Hamlet Talks. And they're gonna go to different hamlets in the town, find a location and have a couple old timers, some people that have done some research on the hamlets. And their first one is going to be the 25th of June, and they're gonna do that at the Palantown Schoolhouse. With that, they have requested if a bathroom could be put up there. And I also thought it would be great if we could have one there from now until the end of the summer, because we are going to try to open it up a few times this summer as well to try to get people up there. We used to be open 2 Saturdays a month up there, and there's nowhere to go to that. So that was a request from the HPC if we can get a porta potty up there, and then they've also requested if they can't get chairs from Rochester 2 Firehouse, if they can borrow chairs.
The chairs are definitely no issue, as long as we can get them there and then back again. The porta potty, the reason I wanted the board to just consider it is not something we budgeted for. It's $130 a month. Last year, we put one there for about 2 or 3 months. I think we pulled it out the end of September. I can go back in the records and see. But I just wanted the board to just weigh in before the money in the buildings sort of general professional services line. There is still money remaining, but we didn't specifically plan for 3 porta potties because we have one at the transfer station, one at the town park, and we'd be adding a 3rd one up there.
Is it more cost effective to do it like per event or to pay for?
No, it's more cost effective to get it and just pay the monthly charge, because then we're just paying sort of the cleaning charge and not the pickup and delivery. And so you know, I would propose if we could put it up there, we started, well, that's June 25th, so I would get it there as soon as I could. He probably would charge us a reduced rate for June because they like to just bill for the calendar month. So, but if he put it up there next week or this, next week, he probably charges a half month.
Do you know how much we over budgeted for the fireworks? Because I think it'll probably balance.
Well, we budgeted 5,000 for that line, but you know, that's just sort of general celebration. So other things like the wreath for Memorial Day came out of that budget line. Some other things. There's probably $300 or $400 there. I have no doubt we can find the money. I just wanted, you know, I wanted the board to be aware of it. It just sort of felt like it was the right thing to ask you guys before I just said yes. I'm okay with saying yes to it. If we say from June until the end of September.
I'm fine with that also.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a wheelchair.
Yeah, we'll do it if they have one available. If not, we'll have to go with just the regular, but we'll try for an ADA compliant. And they're pretty quick to respond. I'll have Seth call them tomorrow, and I'm sure by some point next week, we can probably get one up there. So,
Do we need a motion?
yeah, why don't we do a motion to authorize the supervisor to order rental of a porta potty for downtown schoolhouse from June, we'll say June 12th through the end of September. I'll make the motion since I said it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll get that taken care of. Since Peter Nelson is here from the fire district and the snow parking fire lane law involves him, why don't we go to that presentation next? I did work on a local law, and then Mary Lou and I had conversation, and I'm going to recommend that a lot of what we did or what I did, we get rid of. But I wanted you to see what I proposed to start with. For you and one, if you, Aaron, if you wouldn't mind just sticking a copy in Adam's. So what I did is we've made a bunch of amendments over the last few years of our law. So this is our law in entirety as it stands right now in the black. The red are the changes. So the issue, there's been two issues at Towpath. One is that we left along the area where Depot is back in the day. Aaron, I don't even know if you were on the board yet then at that point, but we left that accessible for parking along that property line with the exception of the Ackworth Fire access area. And the last section where it's in red used to say exactly that. The owner of the property has requested that we make it be no parking with the exception of 2 ADA spots. We talked about that last meeting, decided we didn't want to get into that. So this change here would make that entire Peterskill side no parking from 301 Towpath to 448, which starts where those tall pine trees are, if you're familiar with Towpath, all the way to the little bridge that goes over the Peterskill, not the Algerville Bridge, but the one that goes over the Peterskill. So all the way up to that would be no parking on both sides. The other issue is we have currently 2 no parking signs at the fire access. And because there's a pull-off area, you can get like 3 cars head in on that spot. And people regularly park there. We've been asked by the fire district to try to help them solve the problem. Part of the problem is when the cars are parked there in that pull-off spot, they're not actually on property that we have control over because they're not parking along the roadway. They're actually off on private landowners' property and they're not on our right of way or our easement. So I did write a whole section about fire lanes. And Mary Lou, maybe I'll let you pick up from here. Mary Lou sort of informed me that most of this is about fire lanes that are for access to fight fires in front of a building. I will say it was really hard searching, trying to find information about what we're trying to do. And the reality is that the reason it was so hard to find is there really are no laws that govern access for water draws. The fire lane laws are about fire code and fire protection and fighting fires at buildings and not blocking access. Like, got a storefront, you have a fire lane in front of it where nobody can park, and the reason being is you want the fire truck to be able to pull right up and fight the fire. So I've come to the conclusion that we should probably scrap the fire lane section. I know we said we wanted to increase the fine there, but it's really hard to write a law about it. So Mary Lou, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, a lot of what Mike took is from the state fire and building code. So when somebody's gonna build a factory, you know, whatever kind of place where there's gonna be people, they have to have fire access there. And that's all regulated on private property through the building department. And what we're looking for is really parking regulations on a public roadway. And Mike's correct, there's nothing out there. Under vehicle and traffic law and highway law, the only things out there are regarding fire hydrants and parking in front of fire departments and how far you have to leave clear in all directions. And it is a big problem that we don't own where people may be pulling off. Now the fire department under fire regulations has in an emergency the ability to take water from basically most anywhere. They can take it from the creek. They can take it from a pond on somebody's property. They can empty your swimming pool if they need that water, and that they just have that right to do that. I think maybe what we do now is go with that idea that either Peter or Mike had, I'm not sure which, of putting the chain across on both, I would say, Scenic Road as well as in front of the depot. And if it continues to be a problem, then we can look at down the road making some kind of parking regulation there with a higher fine. It's already a no parking zone.
Mary Lou, can you treat a standpipe like a hydrant though? Because Scenic has a standpipe.
Yeah, probably can, but I don't think we need to make it a fire zone. That would be regulated by state law. And it's a no parking zone anyway.
Scenic is not the same issue because there is no pull off on Scenic. When a fire truck pulls up there and connects to that standpipe, they're parked on the road. And it already is a no parking area, so you can't park there. So towpath is really a very unique instance. What Mary Lou was alluding to, and Peter and I talked about this, I said, what if we talk with the landowner, get his permission to put a chain across there in that no parking area? Can somebody unhook it? And you know, we're not talking about putting a lock on it. We're just putting a chain across with a snap hook. And could somebody unhook it and park there? Sure, but it's going to at least make them think a little harder about it before they do it. Whereas when you see a wide open space, they pull in, and even though there's signs there, they either ignore them or don't see them or whatever. So I bounced the idea off Peter. He thinks it's a good idea. So what my suggestion would be is the only change we make right now in the parking code is that we make that side completely no parking, eliminating that one section that we were allowing parking in. And we scrap the idea of the fire lanes for the moment, because they're not really going to do what I wrote isn't gonna achieve what we want. We would have to totally rewrite it. And even then, there's more questions than answers on how to read.
Mary Lou, can I ask you a couple questions? Are we allowed, so I just want to make sure I understand first. The pull-off is owned by a different property owner.
Not a different, it's owned by the property owner.
It's not
Okay,
owned by us.
so we could also ask if we could have like easement, like if they could grant us access to that more officially too, right?
Well, we could ask that, but it's not the town that needs the access, it's the fire department.
But
And then,
Then we could regulate it.
but then my second question is there any regulation that would, like, if we were to ask the highway department or the person who did the striping to do striping there in addition to the,
it's dirt.
oh, it's dirt, okay,
It's not a paved area, so you can't stripe it.
okay.
Yeah, the best way we can sort of, we don't really have the ability to control that land. So the best we can do is say you can't park along the roadway. The problem is when a car pulls into that pull off, they're out of our jurisdiction. They're not on our area that we control. So they're not, we've made it no parking, but once they pull off far enough, they're not really in violation of the law because they're not parked blocking the road and they're not parked along the roadway. They're off the road by 2 or 3 feet and they're out of
On
our,
private property.
they're on private property because we have, I almost can guarantee that Towpath Road is a road by use, which means you have pavement to pavement plus the equivalent of the drainage ditch. There is no drainage ditch there because it's flat land. So we may only have control over pavement to pavement. We can post it for no parking along the roadway, but beyond that, once they get further off the road, they're legal again. So by getting the landowner to agree to allow the fire district basically to sort of block off their access, and we don't even know if there ever is, and there is any formalized agreement for that being water draw. It's just that it's a good location because of the, how Deep Hole is. It's a very deep area in the water, in the stream, so it's a good location for the fire department to draw, and that's where they've always drawn them there. I suspect those signs were just put up, and there's no jurisdiction for those.
I don't think you need an agreement. They don't need an agreement.
They don't need an agreement. Mary Lou said if they need to draw water, they can.
No, they
If
don't,
it's an emergency basis,
but the
an
chain.
emergency.
The chain becomes the issue, and if we get the landowner to agree for the chain, we're not going to put the chain there, but we will assist in the dialogue to block that access by a chain, and that will prevent people from pulling in there.
And we also see if the property owner can mark those spots private property and know, like, I know that there's signs that say no parking there now, but if he marks specifically those spots private property.
I can ask him.
It might deter people
Yeah.
also from part, like private property will be towed at your expense, would maybe deter people as well.
But also by making that whole area no parking, now it makes it easier because when part of it was parking and part of it wasn't, people just, when people see cars there, they go, oh, it must be okay to park here, even though the signs exist.
See, I think it's gonna have the opposite effect. I think if we're closing off the parking everywhere else, and that's the only place that people can see to park, that they're gonna ignore the signs.
Those have
Like,
been
go
the
to
first
swimming
places
pool.
that people park, really. People park there before they park along the road because it's the safest place to park. But also now that other little parking area that he created is there. It's gonna be a learning curve, but the reality is making it a fire lane is definitely the wrong way to go about it. Mary's convinced me of that, and it's not the right application, and we don't have the authority to say somebody can't.
But if I'm sorry, Mary Lou, if the property owner puts up a sign though that says this spot is private property, no parking,
Mhm.
except for the fire district, can the constables then make someone move their car from that spot or no?
No, because it's still private property.
They can only.
I mean, they could do it if, you know, he could do something civilly. The property owner could say they're trespassing. If you want to give the constables permission to enforce trespassing, I suppose that's possible.
They already have that. They
But they
already,
can't just do it, you know, if they're driving by and they see somebody parking there, they can't just ticket them or tow them because it's on private property.
Even if the owner gives permission for that, if anyone that's not the fire.
Correct. Yeah, we can't, that's giving a gift to a private property owner.
can't enforce.
Okay, it'd have to be called every time, gotcha.
No, not even that. We can't enforce, yeah, exactly.
Just, if we're asking to put up a chain, is there a reason we wouldn't ask to put up a lock and give the fire district the keys?
Ease of access, you know, as Peter said, they have a big padlock cutter. If they, I mean, not padlock cutter, but if they need to cut the chain, they can.
No, that's, I'm saying to make it more difficult for someone to move.
But it,
Well, what Peter and I discussed and that he would prefer is for the short term, it's just yeah, so it's not locked. To
but
make
yeah,
it
we can try and help.
To not impede them getting in there. So I don't want to over sort of think it all. I want to just, we'll try this as an interim and see if it works.
Right, and if it doesn't work, then we can try
Landscape.
and set something up in the law.
Anything you have to say? Peter?
No. You covered it all.
So what we're saying then is that we can make it the road no parking and then let the fire district and the property owner figure out the chain.
But we'll-
Yeah, and we can help
let's
them
just do that dialogue.
talk through it, but it would be between the two of them.
But I do feel like if that doesn't work and the property owner is amenable, and we do think it's valuable for there to be enforcement over the access of that spot, then we do have other options. We just would want to see if this works first.
Right. I think maybe see how this works for the summer. Those other options would take time. We'd have to get the easement from them. That's all gonna take time. So let's see how it goes. And then if we need that, we can always work on that through the winter.
And part of the reason I'm kind of in a hurry, because if we agree tonight that this is gonna be the local law minus the fire lane stuff, we can set this for public hearing at our audit meeting. Get that public hearing, we can then, as long as we don't make any changes to it, we can either adopt it that night or we can adopt it at our June 6th meeting, or July 6th meeting. And at least before the summer gets too far in, get it done. Because if we don't move it forward tonight, we're not going to get it done till sometime later in July.
But that's separate from the chain. We can still have a conversation.
Yeah,
The
the
change-
change can happen tomorrow as long as the right people talk. But the making the whole area no parking, which is the second, that was at the landowner's request, but it also makes sense because we left that one area open as a trial,
Yeah, we left it because we thought people would be able to parking.
and then it got abused. So by making it no parking, we're saying, we tried. It
Well,
didn't
and there's a
work.
parking area.
And there's a parking area, so, and we don't have the original conversation was pre-pandemic, then the pandemic exacerbated everything. And now we're back more toward the pre-pandemic type of use. We don't have 100 people there on a weekend anymore, we get 20.
Yeah, and it looks like we're second drought season in a row, so.
Yeah.
it's awesome.
So,
Mike, can I
Mary,
make one other suggested change though?
yep,
Besides the both sides of the street? On page 4, number 2, table 1. The 4th paragraph down where it says stopping, standing, or parking in front of a fire hydrant at any time during the year. I'm gonna suggest that you amend that to say stopping, standing, or parking in front of a fire hydrant, a standpipe, or a firehouse.
Okay. And then we're gonna eliminate the whole section on fire lanes.
Yep.
And so the remainder, the two changes will be the one change on page 1 in the schedule, and then the change Mary Lou just made.
Make this fines higher.
Can we make those fines higher
We can, that's for no parking everywhere.
or on that table that,
Yeah.
The one that Mary Lou was just.
Right, so that's the table we made last year that we talked at length about when we did the no parking ticket. So,
right,
oh, you're saying make the one for
For
the
the
parking in
fire.
front of the fire.
Yeah.
Can we do that, Mary Lou?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying, Aaron. Could you?
So she wants to raise the fines for the parking in front of a fire hydrant, standpipe, or firehouse.
Yeah, sure. Yes, you can do that.
Do we want to say
um,
250 first offense?
Yeah.
Sure.
What do we want second offense to be?
500. I think we just keep going up in that order and then.
So we were 100, 200, 300 previously, so now we're gonna, where are we gonna go, 250, 500, 750? I mean, what is
I
that?
mean, it's a safety problem.
No, I'm
Third
fine.
offense,
Yeah,
$1,000.
third, yeah.
I mean, that's a third offense. That's.
I know,
yeah, that's-
Somebody that's not
that is
respecting.
someone who,
We also don't have that many standpipes in town, right?
No, and there's not many fire hydrants either.
Really gotta
Does the
get out
board
there.
mind if I ask Peter, are there any fire hydrants?
Free on Firm Road, they're actually part of the water system, but they're in our.
Okay,
Were those added recently? When they did the water district?
I think when they expanded it last time.
oh, yeah, you're right, you're right. So we wanna say 250, 500, and 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Mary Lou, can we set it for public hearing and then I can circulate these changes to the board?
As long as you all agree that this is as presented and amended, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for a motion then to set public hearing. Do we want to just go ahead and set this as local law 8? Do we dare do that? Because we're at 7 now.
sure,
Okay. We're not gonna adopt another local law between now and then. Okay. So I'm gonna set a motion to change the name for this to local law 8, 2023. And to set public hearing for June 29th, 2023 at,
It's starting early. Right?
well, 6:30 now.
No, I think you guys changed it to 6:00
I have it changed to 5:30.
or 5:30. I think you did change.
this
the
I didn't
time.
think we changed it. We didn't change the time of that. We just said we were gonna work on it. Did we change it?
I think we
yes,
changed it.
I
We
got
did.
legal
Oh,
notice
because of the
for-
zoning. Okay, so we'll just hold it at 5:30.
let's hold it at
Okay. So, to be held June 29th. That's the right date,
Yeah.
right? At 5:30 PM at Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York. And to request the town clerk post legal notice.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Oops. I'll get the clean copy to you tomorrow. Thank you. We'll try, Peter.
I do appreciate it.
All we can do is keep trying.
Now is there. Thank you.
Moving on next. You want to do the 284 agreement next?
Sure.
Or, you know what, we don't actually necessarily need Mary Lou for the 284, so why don't we do the other two things and then Mary Lou can leave. So why don't we do the RFP next? This is hot off, literally, this is hot off the presses, finished about 5 o'clock tonight, so if there's typos, I apologize. Mary Lou, I emailed it to you at the
You
last.
did, but because it was hot off the press, I have not had an opportunity to review it.
No problem. I'm gonna walk us through it in real time anyway, so you can tell me if there's something I did wrong. This is based very similar to all our other RFPs, which is borrowed a lot of the same language. So what we're asking for, starting at the general information, we're asking for an architectural or engineering firm to prepare the design, preparation of bid documents. They would handle the bidding and construction contract administration. That's fairly standard for an architect. They will work directly with myself and with Kate on the process of that. All the work would be within the terms, conditions, and the scope of the work. They must be a licensed engineering or architectural firm. The estimated size is approximately 3,000 square feet. It will require electric and climate control, but will not be a place of human assembly or congregation. That's just so they know we're not a building for those standards. The exact location is to be determined, but it will be somewhere back here where the current trailer is in that location. I left the option of connecting it to the existing community center. We can certainly weigh the cost versus cost benefit analysis of connecting the buildings or having to walk outside in the elements and then into that building. So I just brought up the possibility that we may want to connect it, but that would be a sort of to be determined. We're asking for the design, engineering and design specifications for the architectural design, the building and roof structural engineering, the floor and foundation engineering and design, the electrical engineering and design, the site plan depicting building access and adjacent building locations, the project manual, including any technical specifications, bidding assistance for bid to contractors to construct it, and then they would run the construction contract administration. These would be the construction documents that we would ask them for. They would prepare the construction documents, including drawings and specifications that can be publicly advertised. Then they would develop, I'm sorry, it says highway department, but it shouldn't have said highway department. It should say town, everywhere it says town, highway department, it should say town hall. But these will be the deliverables of what they would do for us. Should we, and where it says cold storage garage, I borrowed this whole section from Town of Olive.
3 and 4, when we just say meeting with the town, should we say town, change all towns to town board or to specify?
The town, if you look at the very first, hereinafter referred to as the town, is the Town of Rochester Town Board,
Where's that?
the very first sentence. So we could actually just say town instead of town board everywhere. And cold storage garage should say building record storage building. The reason it said highway department is Town of Olive rebuilt a cold storage garage for the highway department, and that's where I borrowed all this from. They would then prepare the bids, the advertisement. They would answer questions of the prospective bidders. They would prepare and issue any addenda as necessary, and they would review and tabulate and make recommendations on the award for the project. We would have the ultimate say, but they would make recommendations. Similar to what we did with building of this building and the Algerville Firehouse. The engineer in charge, architect in charge made recommendations. They would then, during the construction contract, they would administer that. They would attend pre-construction conference, review shop drawings. They would respond to the contractor for information, requests of information. They would do any change orders or review change orders and make recommendations to the town. They will review the monthly payment requests. They would do on-site inspections. They perform a punch list. The general submissions, we would ask for, broken down by phase, would be construction documents, bidding assistance, and contract administration and expenses. We'd ask them to provide an hourly billing for the services to be provided. Putting this down for July 25th, I think with the holiday in the beginning of July, that would be the Tuesday before our audit meeting. So it would give us the audit meeting to kind of chat about it and decide where to go. I think if we did it earlier with this is a big enough project that we're going to want, they're going to want at least a month to work on this. So I wouldn't do it any earlier than that. But I think doing it later sort of puts us a little behind. All the bids would be sealed in hard copy format and go directly to Kate. They would be date and time stamped. We reserve the right to reject any or all proposals. We would do this as a best value system, and we'll get into that. I would be the answer point for the questions, and those will be due no later than the end of June. And then I would prepare a response to all questions received and submit that to all bidders who expressed interest in being included on the list. And we would do a written addendum. So the time frame would be next, if we approve it tonight, next week, we would release the RFP. The due date would be July 25th. The tentative for oral presentations would be the the audit meeting in August. And then the anticipated approval date would be the following meeting. That's all a tentative schedule. This proposal section is directly what we did with the building's condition survey. So we're asking them how to present their proposal. Basically telling us who they are, and then leading up to the compensation proposal. And except that part 3, I don't think it's part 3 anymore. That part 3 is part 2. So I just need to correct that.
Oh, that's part 3.
What's that?
Part 2 is general submission requirements.
Okay. No, it is part 3. I'm sorry. It is still part 3.
Yep.
We want references and their experience. We want to know the names of the staff names and their resumes who would be assigned to our project, a primary point of contact. We want to know their specific project approach. And then that confidential information, that if anything that they're in their proposal is confidential, they need to notify us of what is confidential. The selection process would be similar. We would do this, the best value. I'm doing it exactly as we did the building condition survey, which would be 60% based on of the weighted value based on their presentation. And we would split that up into 25 points based on the experience and qualifications of the firm, 25 points for the experience and qualifications of the individuals, and 25 points on the quality of proposal compliance. The compensation would be worth 40% of the weighted value. And the way we do that is all the ones we get, we just rank them in order from lowest to highest. And it's strictly a percentage. So the lowest one gets a full 50 points, and everybody else it's the maximum price points multiplied by the lowest price divided by the bidder's price. We said last time, I don't know if actually we did say it in here. So if they receive less than a certain number, we would remove them from. And the alternate evaluation just says that if we get 3 or fewer proposals, we can come up with our own system to score them. The one thing I didn't include in here, and you tell me if we want to, do we want to include bonus points for minority-owned business, women-owned business, veteran-owned business, and then there's also the bonus points for location. We could award in our best value policy. We say Ulster County and contiguous counties, so we cover Ulster, Sullivan, Sullivan, Orange, Dutchess, Greene, Delaware. We could give a higher bonus point for Ulster County companies. Like we could say up to.
There's enough architectural firms. It's not like some of the other ones.
Would we want to say 5 bonus points for, or up to 5 bonus points? No, we could just say 5 bonus points for Ulster County and 2 bonus points for a contiguous county.
Sure.
So we, acknowledge that they're a local company to some degree. We're not getting a company from New Jersey or. And then what do we want to do for? There's minority owned businesses. We would want to set a minimum percentage of like, I forgot what the county. Let me our procurement policy, so I'm not guessing here. Oh wait, this isn't going to be in procurement policy. It's going to be in our best value law. Remember when we did that, Kate? Was it 18 or 19? It was either 18
Best
or
value?
19.
We'll go 19.
And I want to label them by number, not by type. No, it wasn't local law 3.
I don't think we have a specific percentage on, I think the other ones we've done where we've done the bonuses for veteran, women, or minority owned. It was just a yes.
Well, under New York State, to be registered, you have to be a percentage owner. It doesn't have to be 100%. But-
51. I'm sorry, that's not, I'm Googled it, that's not it.
Oh, it was 18. Or maybe it was local 1. Working my way backwards, sorry.
And it wasn't in 20?
Local law 2/2020, establishing
Was
best
2020,
value.
there you go.
I was gonna say, Aaron was on the board.
I wasn't able.
There it is. Oh, this just establishes our ability to do it, so it wasn't our procurement policy. Stuck with where I was in the first place, sorry. I guess maybe we didn't include it in the law. I didn't see it.
Well, isn't there normally a certificate certifying them as these type of businesses will include? That, like, cause I know when we did like the website RF.
Yeah,
like,
because when I put out the bids on the New York Contract Reporter, there's a question where, about, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and then one of the questions is always, what percentage do you require of ownership? And, so it can be that maybe a business is owned by multiple people, or sometimes if it's two businesses are combining together to do the proposal, that one business is minority owned and one business is not. So, but we didn't address it. I know we talked about it. We definitely didn't address it. So I don't know that we have to worry about the percentage. We could. We could just say that why don't we just say a registered minority owned business.
Or
Certified.
certified.
Certified, New York State certified.
So we have minority, women owned, and veteran owned. Do we want to award? Remember, we're on a 100-point scale, and we want to add 5 bonus points for each.
Yeah, Mike, I'm not sure that veteran is certified.
See, that's the one that I remember seeing a certificate for when we did the websites.
Was for veterans?
But for veterans, that's
Yeah.
what, that's the one that stuck out of my mind, that it was a certificate that was included in someone's package.
Okay. I know that minorities and women definitely have a certification.
The other
process.
thing is, since we are meeting next Thursday,
I would feel better, I just haven't gotten a chance to read this, so I
Okay.
might feel better about just to make sure we get the wording right.
why don't I do that? Why don't I take these notes that we just did? I'll clean this up, bring it back, I'll email it to you. So you all get to see it, and then next Thursday we can vote on it, and I'll just change the date by a week.
But we should.
I'll leave the ending date the same. I'll just change the date of when it's posted from the 13th to the
Maybe we should decide though how many points we want to give for that. So for women.
Five, I think.
Oh, did we
Well,
say five?
that was
already?
what I just said.
Oh,
We
okay.
do-
Sorry. I didn't-
Yeah, we do 5, or why don't we say up to 5?
Up to-
And then for the Ulster County based business, we give 5 bonus points, and for a contiguous county, we give 2 bonus.
So that's the potential for 12 extra points.
Would be, well, no, because you could have a veteran woman minority business owned and they couldn't get all 15 extra points.
Oh, that would be 15. Oh, I thought we
5,
said
5, and
2.
5.
That was a 2 for contiguous.
No,
He's talking about the
I'm saying that-
minority or veterans.
Oh,
If we're giving 5 points for each criteria,
Yeah.
if you hit the sort of trifecta and you've had a minority, women, veteran owned business, and they were certified for all 3, they could get up to 50 bonus
So
points.
we just will need to, the evaluation score total could be higher.
Yes.
Well, we don't have to do that.
No,
Charlotte?
If you qualify for one, you get 5 points. If you qualify for 2, you get 5 points.
okay. So we can word it that way, that in no case will the
Unless people
points be
think-
greater than 5.
The only point I was making is we should just make sure that the evaluation score gets updated.
Well, the evaluation score would still be 100. All I'm adding is another section about bonus points. So the evaluation score will still equal 100 or 125, I'm sorry. 125. It'd still be 70 and 50. The bonus points would be in addition to that. So if somebody got a perfect score, they would get 75 from the response evaluation. They could get 50 from the cost, and then they could achieve the bonus points above that. Because that's why they're bonus points. They're above and beyond the 100 perfect score.
So we'll have another section that's.
There'll be a new
just
section
bonus points.
added after B, or after H, I'm sorry. Well, probably
After-
added in after F. Yeah, exactly. And it will be a new section on the bonus points. Just describing the bonus points.
I think Mary Lou was gonna say something.
yes. Charlotte, with the certificate for the veteran owned, was it a service disabled veteran owned? Because the state certifies that.
That might have been what it was. I just remember it was it was proof of a veteran owned business, but it might have been just specifically a disabled veteran
I
owned.
can look up the specific
Yeah.
language from the state.
So just make sure that we have that right.
Cause I'm fine with it being veteran owned, not
Yeah,
certified.
that's-
Right,
No.
but you may not be able to have a New York State certified.
Right,
That-
that,
I'll find out
Yeah.
how New York State, because I know New York State does recognize veteran-owned businesses. I just don't know what the terminology that they use is.
Do people think we should treat each of those bonus sections as their own points? Or just have a maximum?
Well, either that or we lower them from 5 each to, maybe we lower all the 5 bonuses to lower. I mean, it's gonna be very, very rare that you get somebody who achieves all 3. You might get somebody who achieves 2 of the 3 though. You might very well get a veteran minority or a veteran woman business.
I think 5 points for each of them.
I mean, 5 points and the perfect score, right, without bonus is 125. So 5 points is what, what's 125 divided by 120? It's about 4. It's about 4%. Actually, it's exactly 4%. So that's what it is. It's a 4% bonus for each category.
I think that's fair. I think that the point of this is that those groups normally aren't awarded bids on things, so the more points we give for each of people.
Do we want to
on
lower the
trifecta,
Ulster County one from 5 to 4?
I think that that's fair to separate it from there's so, like Aaron said, there's so many firms in this county, like if you go
And it keeps the money local.
outside, yeah, exactly, it keeps it local. And I think that there should be 5 points for each of the minority, the veteran, or a female owner.
And then the rest is,
Personally, you guys.
The rest is our standard insurance, which has already been vetted in past by Dwight. I'll run it by him again to make sure the numbers don't need to increase, but that's just straight out of all our other RFPs. And the reimbursables, if they're gonna charge us for anything, any specific expenses, they just need to list what they're gonna ask for reimbursement for within their agreement. So,
I'd like to see like a basis of that when provided as part of their packet, like how they come to their numbers.
that is included because we're asking them to show their price, their hour, their billable.
Their billable rates, but not why
Rates and
they're saying
hours.
design is gonna cost
Oh,
30,000. Like, it's fine if they say like meet
Where
done.
did you-
It's usually part of the cost proposal.
yeah, except it's not a cost of them. See, all we're doing right now is hiring the design firm.
So we're not basing any of this off of, they're not providing any.
They're not proposing, I mean, they are proposing an estimated cost of the project, but that's not factored into hiring the
Of
firm.
the project or of their firms?
Of their firm's work, yeah. The project itself is a separate bid package that will go out eventually to contractors bid on.
Yeah, so if they're gonna say it's gonna cost us $60,000 to put together this package, I wanna know why are you 60,000 and it's 20,000?
You mean for the firm?
Right.
Well, yeah, but that's part of where the best value score comes into play, because if they're 60,000, they're gonna score next to nothing on those price points.
Are you asking for them to say how much each of the different parts would? Is that the?
We are. We're asking them into, that's in there, I know it is. Just gotta find where it is. It's in here it is, general submission. The fee is to be broken down by phase to include construction documents, bidding assistance, construction contract administration, and expenses. So they have to identify how much each section is going to cost.
But not how they came to those numbers.
Well, they have to provide an hourly billing price sheet for the services to be provided.
Those are rates, right?
Yeah, but it's the rates times number of hours creates the,
Right, and you think that this is requiring that you provide those?
yeah, I think it is.
That, I mean, that's, when I say basis of estimate, I say,
But,
we estimate.
But
that this
because-
takes a senior engineer.
right, but because we're
Yeah.
doing a scoring process that that awards some benefit to the lowest price. See, if we were to just do a regular RFP, not best value, we're somewhat obligated to go the lowest price, although in a consultant like this, we can pick anybody we want.
Mhm.
But when we did the building condition survey, which you guys were not involved in, we had disparity of prices from like $10,000 or $8,000 all the way up to $100,000. The people that bid $100,000, when you did the price point range, scored next to nothing on the price line because they were competing with the people who bid 8,000.
Mhm.
And it's just simple math of how they score. So they score really low. So, but we still can interview anybody we choose to. What we did on that was we picked the top. Do you remember how many we picked, Aaron? Was it the top 5 or 6
For the
building
building
conditions?
conditions?
We picked like the top 5 or 6 because we were concerned that one was low and like, why are they so?
Yeah, I think we had,
I think
I
we
feel
did.
like we had like 7,
Okay,
but I know we threw
Yeah.
a couple of them out.
yeah. We did throw a few out. We got like, I could go back and look. We got like 15 or 20
Yeah, it was like
responses.
15.
It was a lot.
And we narrowed it down to like 6 that we then invited to interview. And then we picked from that, and we ended up picking the cheapest in that case, but like on the website, we didn't pick the cheapest.
Mike, I'm sorry, I'm so slow. The section that you read to me like 5 minutes ago,
Part 2, page 3.
Okay.
Very top.
I
of the
still
page.
haven't been able to find it.
Very top of the page.
Oh, okay, got it. I've been looking for that this whole time.
So they have to break their fee down into the 3 sections that are described in part 1. So the 3
Yeah.
sections are the construction documents, the bidding assistance. The construction documents are the design and construction drawings.
Yeah.
The bidding assistance is helping us get the bid. And then the construction contract administration is, once we select the contractor, they oversee the project.
That seems to answer what you were looking for, Michael. With an
Does
hourly.
it?
I mean,
rate, not
In their
just
proposal, Michael, they're gonna propose a cost of building the building, but that's not part of what we're considering, because we're just considering the firm right now. the
Yeah, I don't
design.
think that's what he's asking for.
No,
I understand what you're all saying,
yeah.
and I disagree.
Well, so
It's
can you
fine.
make a proposal for what you think would make it better?
So when I have to respond to an RFP, I have to provide a basis of estimate that says, for line item 1, I'm estimating 60 hours of this person's time, 40 hours of this person's time. They are at these rates, and that is how I get to the total number of 35,000 for this part of the project. If we don't need that level of detail, but to me, that helps me to understand,
I think-
okay, this is a realistic
I think we
proposal.
have that though.
Okay, I will not be surprised if we get some that are just line item X, 30,000, line item. Y.
Well, and we have gotten that in the past, but in a way, so the first, with the best value bidding, the first section is where we get to interpret what they're saying. And for those that present that, you can score them less than the ones that give you more information.
We could also just edit this one sentence to say, provide an hourly billing rate price sheet for the service to be provided, comma, broken down by role, or could we just add
Yeah, by,
4 words?
How about we say broken down broken down by phases above?
yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna have my senior engineer, it's gonna take 120 hours. Junior architect is gonna take 80 hours. These are their rates, that's right.
Okay. So we just ask them to break down their billing price sheet by the phases listed above.
I mean, it helps in construction too. It's like-
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna give-
Build this.
They're gonna give an estimate of the cost of the construction, but that's just gonna be part of their overall proposal. That's not gonna factor into the price that we're gonna pay the architect or engineer.
But they will be providing us the cost of them being present. at the
Correct.
meeting.
Correct.
Can I also just ask in terms of like the overall design, is there a reason we're not considering it as a place of human assembly or congregation?
Yeah, we talked about this in the meeting you weren't here, so
I figured it was.
yeah, Kate and the building department are in need of record storage. And so we're building this for record storage. That's the purpose of this.
And the only reason I'm asking is if it's gonna be electrified, climate controlled, are we already at the point where we could just add offices? and
Well,
maybe not?
the climate control part is just to the level of preserving records. We're not climate controlling in that it's gonna get a.
Yeah, I'm just saying, sometimes if you're doing construction.
I did bring this up at the last meeting, and I wonder if we could just, on the first page, the 4th paragraph, where we say about the exact location, we could add another sentence to say like, because one of the things we talked about is like, oh, we could add on to a building. We could, I mean, I don't know, we could say that
I don't think that that's gonna necessarily matter. When we get into the design, we can address that. I think for this, for the original RFP, I think we're getting too deep into
If we select
specifics.
the person, we could
Yeah,
talk to them about
exactly.
making it so-
Exactly, and that's why I put about the connection or not connecting, because they may look at it and say, well, to connect these two buildings is gonna cost $100,000. I mean, I'm just making up a number, and we're gonna go, forget, it. We don't need to do it that badly. Now, I mean, the building's gonna be right there. The reason we picked this location, Michael, it's where the trailer is and kind of the little shed out here on the back side of that, is with the idea that possibly down the road where the barn is, could become more offices, and this record storage would be contiguous to that. And that's why we're not looking to build this there, we're looking to build it over there, so we leave that space available for more usable space. But I almost want to just cut the cord right now and say, this is record storage. We're not going to use this for offices, this is record storage. If we decide to use it for offices down the road, then we kind of defeat the purpose of why we're building it, and we're building it because we really need record storage.
Okay.
So that's why I'm just feeling that by saying that, we may lessen the cost, because you could essentially, for a slab, a truss building, it's essentially a pole barn building with walls. I mean, it needs to be insulated to some degree, but if it gets to 50 degrees in there, we don't really care. It's still above freezing. The records aren't going to be damaged at 50 degrees. That's how I was seeing it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll put this together. I'll bring it back next meeting and we'll move forward from there. Thank you for that discussion. Next, Kate sent you an email, and you all got another email from a resident about the granary. I forwarded to you the legal comments from their attorney. It was 29 pages, so I didn't print it out. This email, and I did email this to you, but showed up in my, unfortunately, in my personal email box yesterday, and I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Aaron. I didn't see it until this morning. So this was kind of, and Mary Lou, did I forward this to you?
Yes,
Okay, so this is kind of a summation from one of the owners of comments that he heard from the public and his interaction with those people outside of the meeting. So where we are now is they've asked us to look toward reconvening the public hearing. We were supposed to have gotten some responses back from their either their engineers or we didn't get-
engineers and architect, I believe.
I will tell you, a couple things were clarified verbally for me. The parking area is not paved. It's shown as a darker area because it is new area to be disturbed. And the lighter area on that map was area that's already disturbed. So what I'm told is the parking area will be gravel, not pavement. So, but I'm gonna let them confirm all that, but I'm just telling you what I was told verbally. That was not the intention. And they also did say to me verbally that the building that they have set aside for residential may or may not be for their employees. They want to leave that option open that they could use it for their employees, but if they decide that they don't need it for their employees, that they would be open to, open is my word, not theirs, but that they would rent that out. That building is definitely intended to be residential of some kind.
Because I thought that, I was confused.
I was
at
confused
The
too.
public hearing, because I thought they took all that they didn't have any housing at all for employees, and Charlotte made the suggestion, and then when we opened the public hearing, magically, that was, but so I don't feel like I've seen that.
It is in there. If you go back and you look through the latest incarnation,
Okay.
one of those houses is still set aside as residential.
Okay,
They had talked about the possibility of their potentially their chef living there and one other employee.
But you mean the latest is in the one they presented at the public hearing?
The one they presented at the public hearing is the exact same one that they presented at the March meeting.
That-
So
that
Okay.
was-
I'm confused.
Well,
because I thought- yeah.
let's not confuse ourselves more. Let's wait to hear back from them.
Yeah, I would like clarification,
Yes.
like officially of those
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And then I was also looking at the EEO law today, and Mary Lou, maybe you could weigh in. There's a section where it says if the property owner wants there to be separate parcels, they have to be combined before we grant the EEO. And I thought they considered doing that, then they decided not to do that. So I'm just like
They
confused.
can't because of their bank is the reason they can't.
They
Um,
can't, why, Mike?
They can't merge the 5 properties because of the bank. Because they're different mortgages and so combining them all into one
Okay,
property is financially problematic for them.
Is that-
I didn't remember that. Is that a waivable thing that?
are you sure it's on this one? Cause that was, on another thing that.
Am
was
I-
before
am I
the
sh-
Plan. I'm wondering if you're mixing it up with,
No, I've
with
had-
Vinci Farms.
I know which one you're talking about. I had this conversation with the owners about merging them all 5 into one, and they originally had started with that goal until they talked to their bank, and their bank said no. And it's because of the different mortgages on different properties, so.
It says must, I mean, in the law.
Yeah. I find it kind of surprising that if there's separate mortgages on there, that property for the banks, for whichever bank, if one
Right.
will just mortgage, seems to me to be a far more valuable asset.
Well, let's.
If it's
why don't
one
we
lot.
just- Now that we've identified this, why don't we just present it to them that they have to and then go
Yeah.
from there, rather than us trying to second guess and analyze. But what I'm conveying is I did ask them if they were going to merge them all. And they originally, they were gonna merge all
Right.
3,
They
and
were.
the first 3, and they actually did.
And
But they
then-
never filed it in time with the county. And then when they bought the other 2 properties, I asked, are you gonna now merge all 5? And the answer I got is, we're not able to because of the bank, And I suspected that meant mortgages, but now that this has been brought to light, and I'll be honest, I didn't remember that was in the code, so. We'll talk to them and find out.
And then I had one other thing I found, and I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to go back and look at our agendas. So this might have happened and
Yep.
I don't remember, but it said if the board chooses to, chooses to consider and set a public hearing,
Right.
the town board shall get comment from the code enforcement officer. Did we do that?
We did indirectly. We
Okay.
did not send him a specific request for comment, but from the very beginning, the code enforcement was involved in the original discussions about and that centered around the lead paint on the buildings, and he was very involved.
What?
I did see that section.
Okay, well,
I think you should formalize that.
formalize it, because it's for his comment on I don't have it right in front of me. It says something specific, but he's supposed to comment on the zoning designation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what happens when I go back and read the law. I was like, did we do this?
Okay, I will reach out to, actually their attorney about the merging of the properties. And, I'll remind them that we're waiting to hear back from Because this is a nice to have, but this doesn't really, this
That's
just.
not gonna answer the questions that were brought up as to, you know,
also-
what our final design's gonna be.
It's the public hearing is for us to respond.
Right, but what this is a help in that,
It's,
know.
it's legal arguments as to the comments and how they relate to seeker. But this
Well, no,
hearing
that's
wasn't
the other, we're looking at,
purely a seeker
Right.
public hearing, it's a project public hearing.
Correct, yes, that, I noticed that too, Mary Lou. What we're looking at is we got a summary of public hearing responses from the applicant where they went and had conversations.
she has this.
and
And,
she thinks we're talking about the other.
so that's.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Mike Moriello.
I was
we're talking
saying
about-
that this, I think should be taken with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
Just because
Okay.
I don't know, we weren't part of these other, we heard the public hearing, we weren't privy to these other conversations.
Right, and when you do get to the point of continuing the public hearing, hopefully these people will come back and we'll discuss their discussions. And then their statements are formally a part of the record.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, while we're getting clarification, I'm also still not clear on the specific request for an EO in this case. Like, is there something about the Hamlet district in particular right now that will not allow them to do this project through the normal process? So are they asking for like a use variance or additional
No,
uses,
no.
type variance?
So the EEO is the equivalent of, by granting the EEO, we are potentially granting use variances, but this goes back to what I said. It's an overall project. It's multiple uses. If you looked at each of these uses individually on individual parcels, they all couldn't exist simultaneously.
They can't, okay, that's the answer.
Yeah.
They could not.
That's
within the
part
Hamlet
of it.
district.
That's part of it. They
Do all
could not
these.
all exist. So it's looking at an overarching project proposal. But the adaptive reuse is not just a major part, it is imperative that you do adaptive reuse to get the economic enterprise over. And so,
So part of the decision the board is being asked to make is whether or not it is worthwhile to reuse these existing buildings and to grant additional uses that are above what's currently allowed within the Hamlet district.
well, but
The
let's
uses.
clarify, not additional uses. We're granting the specific uses that are being asked for. If they want to ask, much like the one on Lucas,
Mhm.
that got their approval for the things they got their approval for. And then they said, well, we want to add a sawmill. They had to come back and amend the EEO to allow the sawmill. If they want to change the use to a different type of use, like if it's a, let's just say they were going to open a donut shop and they decided instead they're going to open a deli. They're still similar uses. It's not a major change in use. But if they were going to open a bike shop and then suddenly it's going to be a restaurant, those are different changes. So we're approving the specific ask that is done in granting the EEO. We're also approving the sketch plan level of what's been presented to us, especially involving ingress and egress and those items. And then if we grant the EEO, then it gets sent to the planning board for site plan review. They must, the end result must be, and I think the word is substantially similar, substantial match or whatever it is to what we approved. I mean, they could, if they move parking 5 feet or something like that, that's not a substantial. But if they suddenly make a major change, then they got to come back to us for that major change before they can finish the planning board.
But
So-
also the planning board has the authority to reject new construction that's outside of the
Correct.
footprint.
Correct.
even if we say it's okay.
The planning board is doing the site plan review under our zoning code, the same way they would review any other site. So they're reviewing lighting, signage, parking, but we've already touched on parking in that we've approved the number of spaces, the location of the spaces.
Substantial conformance.
Thank you.
And do you want me to email you this section about the code enforcement? Okay.
I saw it myself.
Okay.
Wait, I'm a little confused now, Mike, because you just said that we approved their parking spaces.
I didn't say
haven't-
we did approve, I said we
We
will.
will approve, okay, sorry.
we
I thought you said
did.
we did.
We haven't
I was
approved
confused. I was
anything.
like, when did we vote on that?
No,
'Cause I
no.
don't
Well, we haven't approved anything. I
That's what I
said,
thought.
I said the difference is in this case, in a site plan, planning board would be totally reviewing the parking. We're reviewing the base level of the parking in where it accesses in and off the public road. We're reviewing the location and the pathways of it, the layout of it. No, we haven't approved anything.
So they move where the parking lot is going to be. The planning board can reject their site
After
plan,
we vote.
but if so it should be it should conform to what we've reviewed, but within that, the planning board has the ability to make adjustments based on the site plan review. It's just
Right.
if they come to the planning board with like with things in different places and
Or even if they come to the planning board with the same plan and at the end of the planning board process, it's a very different plan, then they gotta come back to us to approve that very different plan. And, it's worded vague somewhat on purpose because it's the expectation of what, like I said, if something moves 5 or 10 feet, that's not substantial. If something moves 500 feet, that's substantial. And we're also approving the water and septic or the location of them. Obviously, the Board of Health is approving it, but we're sort of signing off where they're proposing it. And they've already done their test holes and they've already done their due diligence. So that's where Board of Health has said, this is where your septic needs to be.
Gotcha.
So we're doing some of the site plan review and then the planning board does the rest. They do the more defined detail, lighting, signage, the things that we're not necessarily concerning ourselves with right now. And we can put conditions on any approval that we give that then carry over to the planning board, and those conditions would be put on theirs.
So I have a question for Mary Lou. And the one response that we got, that was their legal response, and it has to do with the workforce housing, because they do say in here that it's specifically to employee workforce housing bedrooms to be occupied by employees of the project sponsor. They don't use project sponsor anywhere else in here in their response. Is that just saying the LLC is the project sponsor? Is everywhere the LLC have owner?
The applicant,
Okay.
the LLC will be the owner.
But I'm saying like the term project sponsor, that's what. That would be an interchangeable term because it's the only place they use that.
Yeah, I mean, he's just giving legal basis is under seeker. We can clarify all that if you should go forward and approve, that can be clarified. We can get it clarified on the map. You also have to remember,
I just want to make sure it's the
20
same.
years down the road, somebody else could own it. So maybe we,
Yeah. I suspect that he pulled these together from different documents he's written over the years,
Yeah.
and it was just a different language that he used in that one. But the project sponsor is the owner of the property.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to
have
clarify, because
to
it's
be.
the only spot that he used that term in, so. And then my only other question, hopefully the architects and, the engineers are gonna confirm that I've been asking since the first presentation is, I still wanna know if a beverage truck or a food delivery truck will be able to turn around and not back out onto Granite Road from there. I think that traffic and safety of that was a big concern of multiple people. That's all fine.
We can just ask them I'll just simply ask them, and if you want, I'll just ask them now for a truck turning radius in the delivery area.
That's, yeah, and that if people are in the handicap spots that are also in that area, that it can still turn around.
Well, the truck turning radius would have to show that it wouldn't be impeded by those spots, so. Yep, I'll jot that down right now. We'll ask them for that analysis.
But in any event, I don't think we're ready to schedule the continuation of the public hearing until we get the engineers and architects
I would agree.
reports. And I think you also want to have Nadine Carney review those.
Yep, I would agree on that too. Okay. Mary Lou, I think we're done with you. Thank you. I don't think we need you for the 284 agreement. That's,
I think you've got that.
that's
All right,
financial.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you very much. Thanks, Peter.
Have two music. Another one.
I gave you one set for Adam and one set.
You did, but there's just an extra. Should just be a piece of paper and a staple.
So, and this is where you're gonna want your, highway financial report, so I can walk you through this. Because I ran the numbers today to make sure we were okay. So we got our 284 agreement, what this is, and this is normally due by May 1st, but the budget did not come out till after May 1st, so. I see Rosendale also has theirs on their workshop meeting agenda. So this is what's gonna happen on each road and not to exceed. To walk you through which budget lines these go with, the 43,609, no, I'm sorry. Go to page 2. The Peckham, the 51,489.58. If you look at that single piece of paper I gave you, that is the budget line that is under. So look at the total amount on that single piece of paper I gave you, and you will see it matches to the penny for that budget line. 51,489.58.
In the actual budget.
No, on page 2 of this, of the 284 agreement, there's the second item, 51,400. What I'm trying to do is isolate for you which one goes with which budget.
Yeah, and you're saying this,
So this amount, which was already expended, matches that to the penny.
or so this has been spent.
Yes,
So you mean on the third page?
So this
sorry, third page.
means that we.
Second page of sorry, Michael. I wasn't considering the cover page.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I will show you where in the highway fund that is, except I grabbed my federal funds. Have a highway. No, I got it. That is on the line item. It's on page
3 of 5.
Yes.
1.12.
It's 5112, which is
440.
on page 3 of 5.
3 of 5.
Okay, so that is part of the permanent services road work. The 5112440. So that 51,489 is part of that 71,000.
That has been,
That has been
Spent.
spent.
okay, got it.
And that is CHIPS refundable. I'm just trying to go through
Yeah.
these so you know and match it up.
No, that's helpful.
And what I'm doing is trying to isolate the individual ones first, and then everything left over will go other places. So the next one, because if you go back a page, the Mount Laurel Road where it says not CHIPS reimbursable, that 43,609.10. That is matching up with under maintenance of roads. It's a $50,000 budget line. It is on page 2, down near the bottom, 5110440 professional services paving. You'll see there's $193.98 expenditure so far, and the budget line is $50,000. Does everybody see where I'm talking about? So that 43,609.10 will come out of that budget line. And you can see that the money is still remaining for it. Okay,
Okay, all right, that's fine. I was
it's all the way at the bottom, maintenance of streets, 5110440 professional services paving. There's a $50,000 budget line.
Okay.
See it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that 43,609.10 will be billed to that line.
So, and I'm sorry, everything red in parentheses means that's what's left.
Correct.
So it will be built to have.
Yeah, it hasn't been spent yet. It's happening next week. Oh, no, that did happen.
That happened.
That happened. We're getting the bill for it.
Seal.
Also, to digress for a minute, the comment that was brought up of why are we chip sealing a road we just paved? I asked that very question. Paving is very porous. When you pave a road, you seal it in some manner prior to the next winter event, because when the water gets in, it essentially does how potholes are created. The water seeps into pavement. It starts lifting and freezing and thawing, freezing and thawing. So when you repave a road, and this would match what the county did when they did Samsonville Road, they paved it and then they immediately chip sealed it 6 months later. Before the next winter event, now that it's been paved, it needs to be sealed. He's able to get the trucks next week to do it. They're doing a number of roads next week, Monday and Tuesday. That's why that road that was just paved is now being chip sealed. So that was the answer I got from the highway superintendent. It absolutely makes sense to me. If you got further questions, I'd say ask him directly, but that was the answer, and it also follows through with what I read on the internet, that when you pave a road, you must seal it in some manner before the first winter storm or winter event. So. Now, moving on, the next one is easy to identify. That is the New Holland mini excavator, the 90,000 expense. That expense is on the page 2. And it is under capital equipment outlay, the very first item on the top of page 2. There's $125,000 budget line. And remember that
We did this. Oh,
What?
sorry.
the 125,000 was originally for 2 vehicles that Jeff said when we approved the ordering of the mini excavator.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not getting the vehicles, I'm gonna get the mini excavator instead. So the 125 was the cost of the 2 trucks together. So we're only spending 90,000 of the 125, so 35,000. 34 and change will remain in that budget line. Everybody in agreement on that? The reason that the 34,000 is important is I will probably end up taking that 34,000 and moving it down to permanent improvements, road work, where we budgeted 500,000. I will be adding that 34,000 to that amount to make that budget line 534. Now, if you add up everything else that we haven't checked off, and feel free to check me, everything else will go in that 534,000 budget. So the 51,000 was already expended in that budget line, and everything that's not unchecked should be less than what remains there in that budget line.
And that original one, that the 5112440, that was on the separate sheet, that budget line.
Yep. So if somebody wants to add in the 109, the
I just
115,
added it, I'm just trying to get the budget line and check it again.
what'd you come out with the total?
It was $525,498.52.
So the other thing is, we budgeted 625,000 in CHIPS money.
How much?
625,000 is what we, if you look at the revenue side, page 1, the state aid, the CHIPS, we budgeted that we were gonna receive 625,000. And the expenditure side was based on that. The expenditure side, it was that 500 plus the 125 for the equipment. In reality, we are going to get about 700 and, let's say 710. I think Jeff said it's gonna be like 715, but in the reality, we're gonna get 85,000 more in CHIPS availability than we budgeted for. So that 500 that we just are gonna increase 34 from the leftover from the equipment, we also can increase another 85,000. So that 500 can in theory become 600 and some thousand.
Which one's the 500,000?
The 500,000 is the permanent improvements road work budget.
Page 3.
Page 3,
Okay.
it's 500,000. We're gonna be adding the 34 that remains from the vehicle purchase.
But we've already expensed 51,489 from that.
No, we've already spent 71,592.
I think she's just saying for this list.
Oh, yeah, from this list, yes,
But those weren't in the ones we just added up.
correct.
Correct. That was the remaining ones.
So
So
we
the-
have 428,000 that we would add 34,000 to. We'd still need more in that budget.
And 85,000.
And 85,000,
For the extra.
the extra CHIPS money.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Right.
add 119,000 to that 428. So we're gonna be at 547.
But you're pointing out that the goal is not to be below 535.
Above, yeah, because we have 428,000 left. We have 525,000 to spend. So,
Do those equal 525, the other ones?
yeah, the ones, but we subtracted the 51,489 from
Right.
that, so.
So the 5 was including the 51 or not including?
Not,
Okay,
right?
right.
Yeah, not included.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So we
also
still have
not-
20,000.
exactly.
Well,
So-
so my other question though is we had nothing in the budget for culverts and bridges, and that's already
So-
over by almost 73,000.
Okay, so I can explain that one. That money is already in the budget. That's the Bridge New York money.
And that's getting reimbursed, that was my question.
Well, no, it's in the budget. It just got to get moved from where it is to that budget category. It's currently showing the expenditure, because eventually it's going to be paid by capital projects. So look under the last page, page 5, operating transfers to capital projects at 373,000. That's there.
Okay,
That's the Bridge New York money. So that money equates to that 70-something thousand.
okay, gotcha. I was just, because I was gonna say with
Yeah.
that, we're still
Yeah,
like a.
when I first did the budget, I didn't realize that I should be billing it against bridges because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, not.
But the budget line, the placeholder is in the transfer to capital. But what I found out is we pay it all through highway. And then when the project when we do our AUD, all that gets transferred over to capital then at one time. So in the next time we do a budget amendment, I'm gonna move that 373 from transfer to capital projects up to that budget.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I figured
Yeah.
it was, but I just wanted to make sure that was also covered. That was another $50,000 loss. That other contract money coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, so to confirm, for the road work line, we are existing, from the existing budget, we have 428,000 and change. We have 525,498 and change of work to do.
But we
We're
also.
gonna move 34,000 from that capital
Right.
line. And so that means that we need 63,090.
And we have another 85,000 CHIPS
This
money
additional.
that is available to us
Yeah.
that's not shown in this budget. That
Right.
will get added both on the revenue side
And
and on the expense.
And so theoretically, there would be what you just said, which is $20,000 of chips left, which
That could
I
be
think they
used.
could carry over.
He could carry it over, he could use it, and these are estimates, something may run a little bit over, so.
Okay.
But-
Not to exceed, so
Right.
does that mean that you can't exceed?
He
it,
can-
or can
he
we
can-
run over?
He can come back to us and amend it.
Okay.
So if once he's all done, he says not to exceed right now. So if he wants to amend it, he will come back with another version of this, Charlotte, and it will be raised
Yeah. also-
accordingly, and we'll sign off on it again. What I do need you guys to do is, I need to get 3 copies of, if we approve it tonight. I need 3 clean copies with signatures, because, yeah, I did too. I have,
I have a clean copy. You gave us 2, right? I have a copy here.
do you?
Need check marks on them.
Is this right? Usually the county,
Yeah,
signs it. and then
yeah,
sends it back
Jessica
to
did
the-
not include that. That's why I'm saying 3 copies. I'm gonna do a 3rd copy to send to the county. There
Well,
should be.
Usually he has to sign off on it and send it back. to me. That's
Right.
why I'm- oh,
So what I do is, the town board members sign 3 copies,
Yeah.
Jeff signs 3 copies, we send them all to the county superintendent. He signs off on them and sends us back 2 copies. So that's why, great. 1 stays with Kate, 1 goes to Jeff, 1 goes to the county. That's why I need 3 clean copies with original signatures. Although they don't seem to worry too much about the original signatures, but I prefer to do that. So I have
I have a clean one.
a clean one. Okay, so if we can do those 3, and then I can make copies for everybody else. Well, you're gonna get yours back signed.
I wrote on.
I think we all got them.
What's that?
You gave-
Adam has a clean copy.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You got 'em.
I do have 2 in here.
okay. Oh, yeah, I thought I had printed enough to do
Because
this.
I.
That's, so I gave you mine, I was like, oh, I have an extra.
Yeah. So I have 2, and here, grab Adams and I'll sign it, and then I'll get it. Because you're eventually all gonna get a copy of the signed version, but I'm just gonna scan that.
Just tell me what to sign.
Yeah, well, you're gonna sign where it says town board members. I'll sign first. So you just sign right underneath my name.
I guess when it's illegible.
So before we do that, I'm gonna ask for a motion that we approve the agreement of expenditure for highway monies for 2023 as presented by the highway superintendent.
Second, Did you make it?
I'll make that motion. Yeah,
Second.
in a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So it's executed this 8th day of June.
I think I have a very legible signature.
I'm good for you from.
I'll try to get Adam to sign it as well. Well, I don't know if it's,
I signed it.
You probably have to vote on it.
find out. I don't know.
You have last minute?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Does anyone want? I don't need to.
Oh, you had two?
I had to.
Oh, well, then we can put it back in Adam's folder. I thought I printed out enough.
You did. I think you printed out 2 for all of us. I just gave you my back.
Yeah. Well, I printed out 1 for each of us and then 3 extras,
Oh, I
but I thought I ran out. There you go, Michael.
Oh, that's fine. That,
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, what do I call them?
Here's one.
Or the teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says 1 copy must be filed in the county superintendent's office. Yeah.
Usually, because I
There should
usually
be a
send
space,
self-addressed envelope and they sign it and send it off.
Yeah, which is what I'll do once I get
You?
Jeff's signature.
I don't get.
You're just saying? Why are you saying it?
Just saying.
Or if actually, if you want to take him tonight and just
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
Jessica have him sign it. And then, can you ask him to sign? the-
24 months. Yeah. That's actually like 20.
Okay,
There's birthday.
that's all we have, with the building, so. Thank you very much.
Stick around.
Anything I forgot?
It's very exciting.
2 more definitions.
No, we're done.
We finished.
We're done with that.
We did.
Something.
Oh. I
I
did,
have to leave my.
does anybody want a copy of the fireworks contract? I did bring them.
It's the same as last year, right?
Yeah. We will have to figure out what time we want it to take. Yeah, I'll check with,
I went through my office. and found that it was from the past year and a half.
I'm gonna get the copies.
I'll check
Mike
what
said to
time,
bring that in, so I'll-
once-
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
And I organized them by chapter. You should see me at the pantry. I had the whole place covered, trying to sort them.
Okay,
Yeah, I will do that for a little 3-month-old snuggle, because mine now pulls my hair and bites when I try to follow it.
I
I
found
want
out.
one that's.
So let's get pricey. Like headbutting.
okay, guys. Why don't we start and see how far we want to get?
Okay,
So we left off after definitions, 104.4. So we're now on zoning districts, 104.5.
okay, I'm gonna, you guys can take.
I even have a little more torn in them.
Okay, so we're in Article 3, Basic District Regulations, 104.5. It's the left-hand side of the page for the printed copy. And looking at our handy dandy cheat sheet, This was part of cleanup. The town planning board had no comments and the Ulster County Planning Board had no county input. So
You said it was 104.5, right?
104-5, yep. I'm gonna wait for Aaron to come back.
That's fine, because I brought every single one from the past year and a
Well,
half.
what you're gonna wanna work from is the one that I gave you, last week, Charlotte?
It'll be in there in number order.
Okay,
It took-
well, no, this is the new
Yeah, I,
combined everything. Yeah, that I handed you the other night, so it probably would be at the like top or bottom.
no, I organized them by chapter number.
Oh, okay,
Is it in my folder or is it the one we got?
the one we worked on at the firehouse.
That one's actually done.
So that's why I sent an email, bring your loading code.
Yeah, I read it.
I usually don't take them out of my.
104.4, we're getting this close.
It's the one, Charlotte, it says working copy changes as a 4-1, it's,
That's what I
it's gonna be the
thought, okay.
thickest one you have.
Wait, I have two. That both say 4-1.
Okay, one of them is more recent, I don't know. I gave them out at one time and they're exactly the same.
Oh, okay, they're the same regardless of.
The only thing is, there might be one more page at the tail end,
Okay.
but we're not gonna get that
So
far.
these are not the ones on Encode.
No,
We need the E-code list, I found that.
They're the updated.
yes. What I did is, I took all the public hearing codes, I put them back into order. And then we're working from the printed copy that we had at the firehouse.
Here,
I don't know that you're gonna have it online.
I've got another one.
also.
They both have the same thing.
Oh, you had two.
I handed them all out to you and then I brought another. to the firehouse. So, but I'm just gonna wait till everybody's in the same place, so
We all have the same.
so it's on the left-hand page, it says Article 3, Basic District Regulations. 104-. About 30 plus pages in.
What number is that?
It's.
104-5, right after the definitions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a table that shows the zoning district.
Section finished, like, right.
But it's not 104, it's 140 dash.
Oh, 140 dash. Sorry,
104 doesn't even exist.
140, I said 104.
I know, but he should have known.
Michael's a stickler for detail. So, Aaron, while you were in the restroom, we got. So the county planning board had no county impact on this. The town planning board had no comments. So the only change is we're adding in the 3 zoning districts that we're adding. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, if we don't do them, we don't have them.
Okay.
Right, when are we gonna discuss the zoning districts? Is that gonna be at the end?
What do you mean, the
The
discussion?
A10, the PL10.
So what do you mean by discussing?
Like whether or not they're.
Well, that's what we should be discussing right now.
Yeah.
If we want to include them.
Okay. So,
Do you think we shouldn't be including one of these?
Well, I thought the way we were going with the subdivision code, the A10 might have not been necessary. It's like the fact that we were putting people who had prime farmland into conservation subdivision tract would preserve farmland without having to.
But conservation subdivision is not mandatory even in our code. It's still,
Weren't we making it mandatory?
we were making it mandatory under specific conditions.
under specific conditions, not under all of them.
But didn't we list this as one of the zoning districts that it was?
I know where you're headed, Michael, because I know we said we may not need.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
the
I'm.
criteria we used were kind of like the criteria we were using for A10. to trigger A10?
You want me to, I can pull up on the TV screen
The map. Yeah, because
no, not necessarily the map. I don't want to get into the parcels right now. The map is gonna be, we gotta finish the zoning
Yeah.
code before we deal with districts.
Because the idea with PL10 was that a lot of those parcels were already in easement.
Yeah, PL10, I think we can.
Yeah,
we-
PL10.
Can we all agree PL10?
Yes,
We all want the historic preservation over.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So the difference is the A10. Let me pull up the subdivision code up on the screen.
Yeah.
And then we can decide if we need the A10. And I don't disagree that we may or may not.
Because a lot of A10 were large parcels that were in the A3, AR3. So, and had prime farmland.
Right.
because you're drinking a half a cup of water.
It's also probably has to do with the air quality, although it's so much better today.
It-
The county showed up this afternoon with 500 masks and we looked out, it's like, oh, great, we're seeing blue sky.
I know, that was the thing about like the response is they're like trying to cancel the markets on Saturday and we're like,
It's gone, the wind changed.
you shouldn't be canceling markets. We already worked out in smoke, so like.
You got it. It was like,
I didn't yesterday and.
We had a short day
Pantry Twice. I had to get it in case.
Okay,
it's it.
So- so there is the,
My lungs can take it.
Someone say, like,
that's the subdivision code, so we want to get to conservation subdivision section.
I think, well, first we had the,
Oh, I know what you're talking about, Aaron. The,
the beginning. I mean, just sitting here thinking about it, maybe the best thing to do would be to leave the A10. And then we could, if the agricultural advisory committee, we could ask them to look at the two together and see if we need
Yeah.
the A10.
Yeah, what's the negative if we just?
Because I think it'd be easier to take it out after a public hearing than to put it back in.
Yeah.
that is true, and we're not gonna be to the public hearing for several months.
Yeah. I think we should.
We
leave
don't
it
have to
in.
decide at this moment.
Out right now, then it's gonna be hard.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll move
That-
on.
That way we can. I think we all, I mean, I know I'm at least obsessed with working through these agricultural things, so I think we know that we're gonna come back to it.
Okay. Well, hopefully we're gonna work through the agricultural things then when we get to them. So, because we want to hear from the committee, but, or the advisory committee, but.
Oh, yeah, we want them to be in,
Ultimately, we have to
it
sort
should
of,
be in better shape.
yeah. Okay, so now the zoning map, 140-6. There were no changes. That's the existing language. No issues, right? Okay. The interpretation of zoning boundaries is exactly the same. I don't see, and Charlotte, what we're doing is, if we see any issues with the existing language that we haven't picked up or the ZRC didn't pick up, we can bring it up, but I don't see any issues. I think it handles it well.
Yeah.
And then the schedule of district regulations is also the same language, and there was no changes proposed. Okay. So now prohibited uses, 140-8.1. The county planning board had no county impact. The town planning board had some issues. So Charlotte, hopefully you can help me find which code it is, because I made copies of all the comments. But, oh, wait a minute, I can do it here, I have it here. It is LLD 2022. And here we go, I have the comments. So here's. If you need them, if you don't need them, that's fine too, but. So those were the, oh, gee, surprise, surprise. I put these in order. Look at that. Is that Adams?
I think so.
Yeah. So. So this was their comment.
I actually don't, I don't see. We're still in the same chapter, right? Like, I don't see that in any of the prohibited, that exact quote here.
Is it because we removed it and it's percentage to keep it?
No, if we removed it, it would have been crossed out, so. Oh. So we did remove it. The planning board was in agreement with the following, which were included in the original zoning review committee draft document. And we took it out, prohibition against vehicle dismantling and recycling facilities. We took it out. They're saying we should have left it in. So that's their comment.
No, I was gonna say,
I think we took it out because we said that they are state controlled. And I mean, you need a state permit to operate any one of these facilities. So it is very well regulated through the state regulation process. And that if I remember correctly, we felt that there was no need to prohibit it because if one did occur in our town, and it only is allowed, you might have the uses, the schedule of uses proposed. There were very few places this is allowed to start with.
Maybe only in the industrial district.
I don't think we have these as listed.
We definitely have, we do have, we have one of them for sure. It's under the additional uses. Resource recovery, vehicle junkyard and wrecking, 140-33.
hold on.
It's in our
I'll
code
find it.
already. It may not match.
All right, so apparently we haven't done 33 to where it was printed out yet.
We did, it's part of cleanup. It's part of LLDB. It's not by itself. It's joined with a whole bunch of other codes. One of which is number 1, Charlotte, so it might be the very first one.
Now, I have them in order of chapter, not by local law.
No, I understand, but my point is the ones on this little cheat sheet that say cleanup are all combined into one local law. So it covers multiple chapters. So separating by chapter, it's not necessarily going to work in this case because it covers like 12 different chapters.
The first one is one, so it'd be in the same group.
Right. So that's why I'm saying it might be with number 1 because the very first one of that local law was.
Oh, I got you. It is.
Yeah.
It's in -1.
Yeah.
Various cleanup.
Yeah.
I got it.
So find 140-33. I mean, there were minimal changes in that code. So their concern is that they're saying we should, I don't think the 33 really matters. It's just, they're saying we should prohibit these uses everywhere in town, and we took it out. And their comment is we should put it back in again. I don't understand I don't understand the reason for taking it out. If the appropriate property is used for the, we can zone it in appropriate locations. Rather than,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
To me, it's.
I don't think it rises to the level of being prohibited, is my point.
Yeah, if somebody wants to do one of these and it's regulated and it's.
They have to go through major
You're
review.
not just dismantling cars like in your front lawn, right?
You can.
Well,
You can, but
can.
yeah, you
According to us.
you actually can do that because this is a commercial.
yeah, no, it's a, you're not gonna put it, so
Yeah, and I think
we're
really-
supporting electronics recycling, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think everything that I'm reading, like skimming through quickly in the, is in junkyard, recycling is the only term they don't use for how the items are done, are disposed in 140-33.
Yeah, we can
So-
get the 140-33 if we want to add recycling facility into that, we can, but. Because that's all covered under DEC permits.
Yeah, we
And
could add it under the-
So, and I think also this is just vehicle dismantling and recycling.
Correct.
And electronic dismantling and recycling.
Right.
It's not
No,
recycling.
I don't mean recycling as in recycling
So.
cans and bottles. I mean,
It's just.
when I'm
those
using the
two
term
things.
recycling in this, I was just not saying all the words.
No, I know. I
Right.
guess I'm making the point that it's like, these are bigger.
But I'm,
Yeah.
I agree.
but what's the point? Okay.
I
thank you.
agree.
Thank
I
you.
agree. I think we all agree. I'm just, like,
Put this back in.
we don't have to. put it
And that's all we're trying to do is decide, do we listen to their comments or not? And the answer, I don't feel the need to put this back in. And I think everybody else is agreeing, right?
Correct.
Okay. So 140-8.1, then the other changes that are proposed, which we agreed to, we will email. Which will be the solid waste facilities.
And radioactive.
And radioactive.
Unless the county decides they're gonna build a solid waste facility in town of Rochester, and then they can petition. So,
They can remember the cell towers.
okay, moving on to number 9. There were no comments from either side, applicability, so, and we must have done some change in there, though. It's weird, because there's no red, but it does say it was part of cleanup. I don't know. Maybe that was my mistake.
What do you think, Charlotte? You
Which
got
one?
it in
Hold on, what
that
number?
first.
140-9.
It's in that one you were just looking.
Oh, there's also another
That's
separate one that was
applicability.
changed. 9, we changed agricultural uses.
Did we
In
take it
the-
out?
No, we added uses in A, 140-A, the last sentence.
Did it used to say agricultural use? We changed it to uses?
I don't know, it just has uses as the red,
uses
change.
is in
Yeah,
the
I think
red?
it just said agricultural.
Yeah,
comma, and now it says uses.
I didn't make that red. It used to just say. I think it said,
Hold on,
used to
let's
say, Aaron,
Mhm.
it used to say agricultural use, singular. We added the S. I didn't make the
Yeah,
one letter in red.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm slow tonight, you guys.
It's okay.
Ignore.
I just, if we like get too in-depth in
No,
every
I just
single
wanted
thing,
to
we'll
see
be
it.
here
I
for 4
felt
more
like I
years.
Same paragraph.
Okay,
So you should just ignore me
okay.
unless I say, listen to me.
But that's why there's no red there. It's a single letter. I didn't feel the need to make a single letter red. So some of those I took a little bit of artistic license on. The next, then moving into lot development standards. The county had required modifications
Okay.
and I have them here.
That's exciting.
This is local law Q. So this page I'm handing you is O through S. So it's going to be in there somewhere. They did them all together. And Local planning board had changes as well. Local law Q. Oh, this is the one they wordsmith to death. Michael, you're gonna have to just help me and say yes or no on these wordsmith.
Who works with the county?
No, the local planning board. Well, it was from September 2022. Let's look at the county one first, because that's a required modification. So the one on local law Q is on the second page at the top. Density bonuses is the first one they make a comment on.
Everyone's got affordable housing. It's
Right.
qualifying.
And let me see where we address the density bonuses in there.
You do get affordable housing.
We do in the affordable housing section. They're saying we should do it in the trying to find where in the language of the code we talk about bonuses. I don't think it's like one particular place. I think it's throughout.
What does that mean, required modifications? For required?
No,
Yes.
we, if
So-
we don't do it,
So,
I was gonna say.
yeah, so let me take a second because you guys aren't familiar. So the county planning board can give required modifications. They can give approve, they can give disapprove, or they can say advisory comments, or they can say no county impact. If they say disapprove or required modifications, we must follow their recommendation, or we must override it by a specific vote. And it's got to be a majority plus one.
Okay.
Which means we need 4 people to vote yes to supersede their required modification. Now, the one that's an advisory comment is just that. It's a comment, it's advisory. We can choose to take it or choose not to take it with no repercussions. But if they gave us a required modification, we have to either accept it or turn it down. But if we turn it down, we also have to say why we're turning it down.
I mean,
I agree with it. I just got to figure out where we got to put it.
well, I don't disagree, but we also give density bonuses for affordable housing and we limit, I'm just curious to map we limit where affordable housing can be located
Right.
also, so it's not like we're going against this, it's just where would we be giving density bonus on top of
Yeah, well, they're
density
also, the
bonus?
second part is, we talk about the conversion of seasonal dwellings, and they say that that's a good
I agree with
opportunity to
that.
allow for density bonus. Let's do that one first.
Okay,
So that's easy to find. The seasonal housing conversions, that's letter G. Yep. It's right after, there's a picture at the bottom of the left-hand corner. Yep, right there, Aaron. Top of the next page is letter G. That's the conversion of seasonal communities. So we're allowing seasonal residential communities, we're adding in this whole section about multifamily, but that language that's added is the same language from our multifamily section, right? Am I correct in that? And I think we're just adding it here as well.
I need to get my computer.
What's that?
Oh, just so I can reference that
Well,
code.
yeah.
But
it's the same language. What the ZRC did is they moved the multifamily language to the conversion of seasonal residences as well. But what the county is saying is it's another opportunity for a density bonus. So what we would, if we were going to include this, we would have to identify where we wanted to give it, what zones we wanted to give a density bonus for conversion of seasonal residential communities, because we're allowing it in any zoning district.
yeah, and then in A, it's considered a major subdivision in those districts.
Well, only if it's a multifamily dwelling. That's why. So,
Well, we don't give a density bonus, right?
no, but let me just talk. So the section, forget all the language below, just read the first sentence. So this is for a seasonal residential community. So this, just use example, this is like a bungalow colony.
Yeah.
That is seasonal. And if it's going to be converted to year-round to a permanent, it has to be, so let's look at section 1. It has to follow special use, and it's also subject to subdivision regulations, because even though you may not be drawing lot lines, you're treating it as if it's lot lines. Does that make sense?
Would you not have to do a subdivision though?
You might not have to,
For
because
multifamily, but if you're making individual houses, you have to do a subdivision.
not necessarily, because if they were for rental, they wouldn't need to be, you wouldn't need to subdivide if you were gonna rent each one.
Mhm.
One owner could own all the houses and rent them. So,
The thing that's confusing me is the red part.
well, so the ZRC felt the need to put the red part in, because if these seasonal residential communities were made into multifamily dwellings, they're trying to say that these would apply.
Yeah, so in the
But-
regard,
If they would apply whether that red was in this section. Because if you're converting seasonal facilities into multifamily dwellings, meaning more than 2 families in a dwelling, three or more in one structure, it is a multifamily dwelling, whether it's seasonal or not. I think this was a case of the ZRC over explaining something. I don't think the red should be there.
yeah, I guess the only point I was trying to make is it says the density in these specific districts shall not exceed twice the number of dwelling units per acre permitted. So
right.
that seems to be implying that you could have more dwellings.
Right.
That is a density.
That
bonus.
is a density.
That is
bonus.
a density bonus, but that density bonus is by virtue of it being a multifamily dwelling, which is addressed in another section of the code.
But that's what they're asking us to do a
Right.
required mod for.
Right.
But my only point is it seems like we're doing that.
Right, we are. I think by including the multifamily in this section, it confuses the issue. Because it almost seems to say that every conversion is a multifamily conversion. And, I could go back to doing my old drawing a picture. If you have 10 units and each one is a 1-family structure, and you're gonna convert all 10 units, it's 10 single-family houses. It's not a multifamily conversion. The multifamily conversion only comes if you take each of those 10 units and you make 3 separate, distinctly different apartments in each one. Now you have multifamily housing.
Yeah, it's also inconsistent with item 3. Item 2 and item 3 seem to conflict, because item 3
Right.
is saying you can't, it's actually, you can't convert all of the residences, all of the dwellings into residences.
Right.
The most you get is 80%.
I personally think that the original language, which is the black, the red was just the multifamily law copied and pasted and inserted in this section.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be in this section, because if you're converting any residence to multifamily residence, you're bound by the multifamily code.
Yeah.
If you're converting seasonal residents to multifamily, then you're bound by both this section and the multifamily section. But I don't know what the benefit of putting the multifamily in here is. I know the ZRC felt it's informational. I think it's confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could just be like multifamily conversions are subject to the standards of 140.26. And then not say anything, but
You know what, we could just say that multifamily conversions shall fully meet all the standards of residential uses, and there, get rid of everything else.
And we're saying that multifamily inherently has density bonuses in the multifamily section.
Right, it
This
does.
is the same.
This is a cut and paste direct from the multifamily. I remember the discussion about this when we went through it the first time. So, does everybody agree with that? Can we just leave the first sentence? How about it says 140-26, so we just take out the rest of that, and then we take out the A, B, and C, because it's already referenced. So,
So we're leaving the whole section 2 and then taking out A, B, C.
no, we're leaving the first sentence of 2 and removing everything starting with general guidelines. We're just saying multifamily conversions shall fully meet all the standards of 140.
Multifamily resident, okay.
But maybe we should add just a little more, say, if the seasonal residence conversion involves multifamily, they shall fully meet the standards. To explain why this is in this section. Does that make it sense?
Conversion of seasonal residential communities to multifamily.
Multifamily shall fully meet, yep. Okay, so we're gonna remove everything from general on. And we're gonna remove the A and B, and we're gonna say conversion of seasonal residential communities to multifamily structures. Yeah, we probably should use the word structures, and then get rid of the word conversions.
Or
So conversion of seasonal residential communities to multifamily structures shall fully meet all the standards of 140-26 multifamily residential uses. End of everything.
Yep.
Now, the density bonus thing though, so we are offering density bonus for multifamily. We're not offering density bonus for single family homes. So the county's comment is somewhat addressed toward all instances of conversion.
I think they just say of seasonal dwellings to multifamily structure.
Oh, you're right, it does. The statute also allows for conversion of single dwellings,
Which is a good opportunity to allow for density bonuses,
but we do.
which is what we're saying.
What, we already do. Okay, so our answer to that is we already do.
But it was confusing for them because we stuck that in
Right.
here, so.
Now, we talk about,
Well, but we've changed it now because they're referencing the language that was part of the multifamily, aren't they? Because they list the zoning districts, which we now removed from this section.
no, we didn't though, because the density bonuses,
we do, that we offered density bonus in specific
I think, Michael, there's another section somewhere about density bonuses. I don't think I think they're not necessarily referencing that part.
No.
No, yeah, I think that was specific to the language that we just cut from there. It wasn't,
Do you think so?
that's what I'm.
Yeah,
reading, that it was
R1,
Specific to just that
R1
section.
page.
No, here it is. If you go back to the very beginning of 140-10. That's where they're getting the R1HB and AB3. It's 140-10B2. That's where we give the lot area exemptions. And that's where if you're. So if you're doing a residential use and a secondary use or a second use on the property, we only make you meet the density for one use. You see where I'm talking about? I don't think you're not on the right page. I can tell from where you are, but if you look at 140-10B2. And what that is encouraging mixed use with business on the ground floor and residential above. So what they're saying is they like that we're doing this, but we should require affordable housing to get a density bonus. So they're saying if we do 140-10B2, we should add one of the requirement that the residential portion must be affordable housing. That's
I
essentially
think
what they're
that's
saying.
fair. I'm for that change.
Well, what they reference. I think they're talking about 3. Which is the density bonus.
Oh, you know what? They are, because that's R1, that's the order R1HB and AB3, you're right. Shall be eligible for, oh, there you go, for density bonus. Oh, okay.
So they want this to include affordable housing, and then they also want us to consider bonuses for seasonal dwellings.
Right.
So I agree with the first one and disagree with the second.
Well, the seasonal dwellings, we are giving bonuses if they do multifamily. They just didn't understand. So I think we can say we've achieved that.
Affordable housing, I'm just.
There's a definition.
Yeah, but we're not, because item 3 under G says you can only do 80% of the existing seasonal residential units for new multifamily dwellings.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you can't get a bonus, it just means you can't.
Well, so if you have 100 bungalows, you would only be able to do
No, but
80 units.
it's the
of multifamily.
density, like if you have,
It's the density.
it's the transference of the use to a permanent residence. Triggers the underlying density of that zoning district. So even if you had 100 bungalows, you might be, I'm using this as an example, maybe it's on 50 acres and you're in R1, you're only allowed to have 50 residences. This is allowing you to convert 80 of those.
Right. The density,
So that's a 40% bonus.
Oh, so you could say, okay.
the density triggers it. You're going by the number of existing structures, whereas the density is still going to control it.
I still don't agree with that.
Well,
But I'm explaining to you that it is a bonus.
Yeah, I don't agree with the bonus. I think we need to be careful about doing that.
But it also says you can't do more than double.
Yeah. Well, I just don't, like, I don't know how many bungalow colonies there are, but if you have a bungalow.
there's not that many left, and B, I mean, that whole conversion thing was pretty well vetted, and we're just leaving it as it is.
Okay.
I don't think, and it's been there for 20 or 15 years. Nobody's ever done it yet. So if we get, you know what I mean? If we get one person to do it in the next 15 years, it'll be major.
Yeah.
So. I see your point though, Aaron. So I think what they're saying, Aaron, we're giving a density bonus for green energy, and they're saying we should make the equivalent for affordable housing.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, I'm just looking at our affordable section to see.
Oh, I can forward it to you.
Well, we should just look at the definition of housing too.
It's, we,
It's 80% of,
it's 80% or less of the median
Oh.
income.
we don't have it in our definition, by the way, so I'm gonna just make a note that we should add a definition for affordable housing. I know it's in the code itself. I think we should put it in the definitions. The county did not have any comments on our affordable housing section, believe it or not, so.
Oh, actually, it's 60%, like, is what's in our code already.
I don't think you're right.
No, she is. She is, Michael. The density always controls how much you can develop.
No, I understand that. But I think we're saying you can still only do 80%. Or in this
Oh.
case, 50%.
And you're still, and density still. So like you can't do
Hang on one
50%.
second, I'm just, we're trying to,
Lot area,
Charlotte,
lot
just,
width.
can you say, just so I can hear it too?
Sure, and so this is what it says in there, so the planning board gets to say what the density is. I think is what I'm reading, right, so
I
the town
see.
of Rochester Planning Board is hereby authorized to modify when reasonable the density, lot area, lot width. And or lot depth requirements provided in this chapter for the purposes of encouraging the provision of affordable housing. Such authority shall be limited to a maximum of 20% of residential lot/units created. And be further limited to those lot/units restricted to development for affordable housing. Affordable housing shall consist of lot/units marketed at the affordable purchase/rental price per square foot or individual unit or area, including all fees. Applicants must demonstrate in writing a basis for the NAPP, that's the net affordable purchasing, based on affordability to town of Rochester residents earning 80% of the median family income.
Right.
In the cases of owner units and 60% of the median family income in the case of rental units.
Right, and that's the standards that are followed.
So basically, we're not giving a set density bonus. It's just saying the planning board can.
And give
So,
So the
Okay.
question is,
maximum.
do we want to change it to give a specific density bonus if you do 60% AMI for rentals and 80% AMI for?
And should we do it in the affordable housing chapter or should we? do
No,
it
it
in
would
the
be,
lot
I
development
think it should be in the lot.
And I think we should also put it in major subdivisions. Somewhere, a lot of towns have it worked into their subdivision code now. I have examples, I'm looking at the presentation that
Yeah.
we got from Marbletown.
Yeah.
And I'll-
Well, let's, yeah,
But for
let's,
now, I think it should go in here, and I think that it looked like,
we leave the affordable housing section, we
Yeah.
leave that flexibility, but
Okay.
this, we just say, and I think we copy the language of 3.
But we just add a new.
Well, we just copy, we're adding a new number. We add a new number 4 after 3. Or we make 3 an A and a B. Why don't we do that? So we don't have to renumber everything. We make 3A the existing for green energy, then we make 3B the same language for affordable housing in those same zoning districts.
So we call 3 density bonuses.
It doesn't need a title, it can just be a 3A and a B. These are all part of minimum development standards.
Okay.
So,
What should we say?
so 3B, I think it should say lots, oh, it says it twice.
yeah, I just realized that too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Lots in the R1, HB, and AB3 zoning districts shall be eligible for a density bonus of 1.5 times the standard 4. So instead of green energy, you say for affordable housing. Let's say affordable housing development. Upon planning board review. Lots shall be,
Lots shall be subject to all zoning district
Standards.
standards, comma. Cause we,
well, I think in
Unless-
this case, because we are giving a specific 1.5 time bonus. I think the other one can still exist separately. So I think in this, it should still meet the district setback standards. They're giving a bonus, but it's still got to meet the district setback standards. And then we should say the planning board shall certify the development incorporates affordable housing development standards. End of story. And then we're going to define affordable housing in the definition section by taking what you read, Charlotte, from the code, and putting it in the definition.
and then do we wanna create like a standard of what? Like, could someone build one affordable housing unit and get this bonus on one lot, or?
No, I think in this case, my take is, we're giving them a 1.5 time bonus, and I would say, do we want to say all units need to be affordable housing?
No, I would do a percentage. So
Okay.
I know the way that, I can't find it in this presentation right now on the slides, because I'm trying to click through them too fast. But the way Marbletown did it is that like, whatever you got as the bonus had to be the affordable housing unit. Like if you were doing like a multi-use
Yeah.
or a multifamily, that at least that had to be plus 20%.
Was Marbletown's adopted? Because I remember there was a lot of confusion.
No, I don't think that they ever fully adopted it.
Yeah.
I think that they.
Well,
went back
that's
and forth,
why
Which is why I wouldn't do the two, but
I
I
wanna
think
be
that you should do
careful
it as a
about
percentage,
following
like
them, though,
25% of the units have to be affordable housing. So like that's if people put in for you a minimum of 25%, because then if it's two, at
So-
least one unit or 25%
So why don't we say,
has to be
why don't we say this then? So lot
whatever's greater.
in the R1 HB and AB3 zoning district shall be eligible for a density bonus of 1.5 times the standard lot density for affordable housing development, where 25% of the lots of such lots are we want to say certified?
I don't know if that's the right term.
Qualify as affordable housing.
Well, it's not qualifying, it's because the developer
Required.
designated. Are
Designated.
designated.
And I think, Mike, we should change it to 1 or 25%, whichever is greater. For it, because if
That's three.
it's 3,
Oh, it's
that's a
3.
weird number, so like
Okay.
at least a minimum,
Where-
a minimum.
Where a
one
minimum of one,
Or
The greater of 1 or 25%, right?
a minimum of 1 or 25% or greater
So you got that wrong.
of available units.
where a minimum of
So you
one,
wanna change it.
let's stay on one thing at a time here, guys, otherwise we're gonna. Where a minimum of one or no less than 25, or no, a minimum of one or
Yeah,
25%.
or no less than 25. I think no less is the,
Yeah,
yeah, because then it's that they have to have at least 1 or no less than 25%.
of such lots are designated for affordable housing. Do we say in perpetuity? I think we should,
I think we should too.
because we want to make sure that they remain.
Yeah, because this
That
is gonna be
sales.
a new.
This would have to be included in the deed. Okay. In perpetuity. Then we say, the plan, upon planning board review. lots shall be subject to all zoning district setback standards. Planning board shall certify the development incorporates affordable housing measures. And we don't have to include all the others.
So why do we include AB3 and not R2?
I think I think originally the AB3 was because of the location of the AB3. The R2 is so spread out all over the town, whereas the AB3 is on the 209, all the AB3 property is on the 209 corridor.
Oh,
I
right,
think
you know,
that's
I
it,
was
yeah.
thinking A.
Yeah,
Sorry.
AB3,
Yeah,
AB3.
yeah, got it.
So,
That makes sense, sorry, I was,
yes, proximity.
so we need to make sure that we update 140-30 because it limits affordable housing to HR1 and B.
Okay,
There should be no limits on what our board.
just somebody make a note to when we get to that.
I mean, Charlotte had it.
Okay,
Oh, yeah. Well, I also think that we should take.
hang on, just say what again, what code, 140 dash?
140-30.
I'm gonna make a big star next to it. Oh, well, the county, actually, I take it back, the county does have required modifications on that, so I think we're gonna probably see that they want us to touch that. So by doing this, though, we have now addressed this required modification. Are we all in agreement on that? Michael, do you want to go back to your question, or do you want to?
All I'm saying is that I don't think you're reading it correctly. If you wanted to give density bonuses, I don't think that's the way the language.
In which section?
The
So I'm at the conversion.
conversion.
Well, the density bonuses are in the multifamily. section.
Right, but the other question though, well, Michael, I think they're two separate discussions.
Yeah, I think item
So-
3,
The number of new dwellings permitted shall be limited to 50% of existing seasonal residents in the case of new single-family dwellings, 65% in the case of new two-family dwellings, and 80% in the case of new multifamily dwellings. So let's just say, for example, there were 100 dwellings there.
yeah, if you're an R1, there's 100 units on 100 acres. You can build 50 single family units.
Michael's right, the density does not pertain because this is superseding the density. I think you're.
But in a
100%
case where it's not on 100 acres, you would get a density bonus.
No, if
No.
if it's R1, 100 units on 25 acres, you can only build 25.
So the way I'm reading it, the acreage doesn't even matter. It's just saying the number of new dwellings shall be limited to. Do you have the schedule of use though, Aaron, of where we allow
I don't-
this?
I can look it up on my phone.
Because what I don't have anymore, I can't find it. If you can resend it to me, is that schedule that we started working on.
The Excel.
Yeah,
What does it mean when it says new dwellings? Because we're talking about conversion of an.
right. So the new dwellings are the permanent single-family, two-family, or multifamily dwellings.
It's the converted one.
It's the converted dwelling. That is the new dwelling. So if there are 100 seasonal residential units, and I'm remembering now why this came up. It's because of water and septic.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense as written. I just wanted to make sure people didn't think we were giving density bonus.
No, but I'm saying it's not of 50% of what's allowed in the underlying zoning district. Some of our seasonal, like for example, the one on 209, there's like 12 structures there.
Right, so you can only do 6.
But I'm saying, do you know what the lot size is?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't,
I know it doesn't matter, but I'm saying if the lot size, the density bonus that I was talking about, I'm saying what you're saying is true.
Right.
That it could be that there's no density bonus, but density is from the underlying zoning district, not the number of structures. that are
understood and agreed, but
So you could have a case where you're allowed to do a conversion that is more than the underlying density, depending on the lot size.
But-
That's the only argument I was.
But number 3 is not meant to be anything involved with density. Number 3 is saying if you have 100 units, you can't build more than 50 single family, you can't build more than 65 two-family dwellings. well, it'd be 65 units. So you couldn't build more than 32 and a half two-family dwellings. And if it was multifamily, you couldn't build more than 80%. So you couldn't build more than 80 units.
I actually think it's not clear because it says,
Well, it says, provided that any such property shall be entitled to no less density than would otherwise be permitted within that zoning district for a new use. So if the new use allowed 60 units and there were 100 there, we wouldn't say you could only put in 50 single-family homes. We'd say you could put in 60 because density allows you 60.
Right, but if you had, well, not the way the law is written in terms of conversions, but if you're an R1, 100 bungalows on a 25-acre parcel, technically you should be able to do 50 conversions, but that would put you at half acre, so you can only do 25.
But it doesn't say that.
No, but that's my point, Michael. This is, the density only comes into play if the number you can convert is less than what the density allows. Otherwise, what this is saying is the bonus is to get these units converted away from the seasonal uses too, but you also have to be able, bear in mind, number 5 means you still have to do all the water and sewage. So it's somewhat self-limiting in that in order to get the water and sewage with the wells 100 feet away from septic and everything else, the reality is you probably couldn't do that many units.
Yeah.
I think I'll be very honest, I think we're way overthinking it. I think the way it is fine.
I'm fine with the way it is. I just didn't want people thinking they were doing bonuses.
No,
It's possible that you can get,
it is possible that it is a bonus, but it's also possible it's not a bonus.
but then we explicitly give a bonus in our multifamily.
Understood and
housing
agreed.
section,
Understood and agreed.
which is why we don't need to do a modification.
I'm good with that one.
Okay, so we're gonna
Maybe,
have changed to the way we changed it. We're gonna leave 3, 4, and 5 just like they are. Okay. So we now have addressed the required modifications. The advisory
From the county.
from the county. I'm working only through the county issues first because those are required or not required. So advisory comment, they adopted an overlay district for their hamlet that not only included density bonuses for affordable housing goals, but also for meeting specific design goals. I don't remember, I don't think we got a copy, but I can look them up. Our hamlet, I don't know, do we need a density bonus in our hamlet? I don't know that we do.
There's like not one that like could really
Yeah,
benefit from,
Yeah.
like that would be even.
well, the only place that could, bear in mind, the hamlet expands over to the old quarry over across from town hall,
Yeah,
and that property could.
yeah, that's the only one though, but that's also probably at least some level of farmland that
Yeah,
would be protected, so I,
let's,
as much as I wanna be able to put affordable housing in anywhere for.
let's skip this one for
Skip that
now.
one for now.
Are we okay? Are we okay rather than trying to figure out how to make that work? If we skip it for now,
I'm totally.
I'm fine.
come back later?
I don't think we even need to come back, I think we
Okay.
shouldn't write the zoning to one property in a district.
So size of lot disturbance. Proposed law contains a clause that requires all land development within 7,500 square feet or more to go through site plan review process. Did we do that?
Yeah, that was one of the, I think Mark brought that up in
Yeah,
public
Yeah.
comment. too.
yeah, that's not
Um,
that much.
Where is that?
And it struck out
It's
in
way-
blue.
It's way back.
It's 5.
Yeah, it's in the second page of 140-10.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's what we said, like if you're doing a driveway and this, you're gonna breach that 7,500.
Yeah.
I do think it should say 1 acre or more though.
Well, 1 acre or more, you need to do a slip, so. So we could just make it 1 acre and because then if you need to do a slip, then you need site plan approval. Does that sound fair?
I
So we're gonna change 7,500 square feet to 1 acre. How many square feet is 1 acre?
43,000.
Oh, it's okay. That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So we're gonna change 7,500 square feet to 1 acre or greater.
Yeah, because the idea was if you're clearing space for a house in a yard and a driveway. Like,
So we've now addressed it, so we're okay on that. Fire access, I just wish they had matched it better with us, so. Where's the fire access? Hold on.
I saw it before the home.
Can you tell them to put numbers in my?
Well, it's because we gave you so many.
Can we give them a required mod? I know you have a lot of sway.
Yeah, it's 8, it's on. After flag lots, after the graphic, it's the third page from the end at the top.
After flag lots?
Yeah. It's opposite this picture
Oh, okay.
over here.
Opposite that picture, that's.
No, that's the old one. Black lots are on the bottom in this big.
No, I'm saying 8, number 8 on the page before that picture. Talks about 20 feet in width for access.
Oh, before the picture.
Before,
Yeah.
So that's under flag lots.
It is under flag.
Is it
lots.
under flag lot?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But is that what they're talking about?
I don't know, but that's what they talk about.
Minimum clearing of vegetation. That's what we're trying to, oh, you know what that is? That's gonna be on the standards for the guidelines for siting of structures. There it is. It's at the bottom of 8, it's letter E.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There should be a period there too.
Okay.
What did they say?
They said you need to,
This guideline should also take into consideration requirements for proper emergency response.
so
access.
minimum clearing of vegetation at the edge of the road, clearing only as much as necessary to create a driveway entrance with adequate sight distance. And let's say, and
Proper emergency.
proper emergency access with,
Yeah.
and appropriate emergency access with, yeah.
Sufficient.
No, sufficient, I mean, there is a legal definition of what it needs to be. So,
Yeah, should we cite the?
Per New York State Building Code.
and
Fire.
how about we say, and emergency access per New York State Fire Code?
I think you have that listed in another section somewhere, because I remember that coming up, the width that they need.
It's in subdivision. But these are guidelines, so I think, so, and emergency access per New York State Fire
And
Code.
non-binding.
Yeah. But now we've addressed the fire modification. So the last is advisory. Because we said the Ulster County Community Design Manual is incorporated in. I think a great way to handle this is if we go back to the very beginning of this section with the design standards. if we write, we just reference that document. So if we say all structures inclusive of residential dwellings unless specifically deemed exempt shall meet New York State Uniform Fire Building and ICC requirements prior to occupancy. No, maybe we shouldn't do it there. Maybe we should say it in, maybe that should be in the non-binding guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it's in B, the next paragraph, where all lot developments are referred to use for agencies shall use guidelines set forth in the Ulster County Community Design Manual.
Where is it?
That just the paragraph below the
Oh.
one you just read. But what they're saying is advisory. It is recommended that the town consider identifying the various parts of the town and applying the place type to
Oh,
the various parts of the town. This will make the process transparent, not only for the local planning board applicants. So,
yeah, why don't we do that on the next round? Next time we work on the code. That's gonna be a lot of work. We would have to go through that guideline book and identify every crossroads, every road area or zoning. We'd have to, we couldn't even do it by zoning district. We'd have to do it by roads. I get what they're saying, and it's not a bad idea, but it's a lot of work. I think we could, you know what, we could put out a supplement. We have the supplement A is the schedule of use, B is the map. We could put out a supplement C
Yeah,
that would be attached to the zoning code. That would be that. And we don't have to do it now, we could do it later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna write later on it.
I wrote tabled supplement C.
It's a good note.
But,
Yeah.
you know, you guys understand what I mean, and I think that would work, and we could utilize it.
yeah, but what they're talking about is downtowns, edges,
Yeah.
corridors,
Yeah.
crossroads, new neighborhoods,
Yeah.
and rural.
Yep. And we would identify what parts of our town we classified as each of those.
Yeah, we could probably do it by zoning district eventually.
Maybe,
No, 'cause-
but I don't think so, because like the R2, you've got R2 by 209, and you've got R2 way the heck up in the
Like,
mountains.
Rural and downtowns maybe, but everything is, you have to.
Later.
Yeah, and we might want to wait too till the housing committee gets their inventory back.
Yep.
They might have a lot of the rural things just listed as a rural
Yep.
lot
Yep.
on it, so we might have to get some of the work done.
Yep.
Done for us by then.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right,
okay.
landscaping.
So we've finished the county planning board's letter queue. Now let's go to the town planning board's letter queue, which is a lot easier to follow.
Right, first off, I don't know why they put these shoulds instead of haves.
Right.
Right out.
Yeah, so A and B, we leave as shall. Right?
Yeah,
You're just saying like, why,
I'm
They
offended
changed
it's even suggested.
Wait, where is that?
this is, Mike just.
It's a separate document. I just handed it out.
I can give you,
You put it in there?
I think I put it in
Why'd
my
you put it in there?
silly goose, man, and I wasn't thinking. I put them
Well,
all
it's
back
probably under
together.
Q.
It's 140-10. It should be right near the top.
Yeah.
Put it in order.
Who's going through all of them like that we've done for the last year? Anything that said law on it, I'll put in this
We
stuff.
can share.
You can share.
or you can just keep that.
No, we're gonna share.
They can
We're
share,
gonna share.
because then we'll forget to give it back to Adam. Although he doesn't get a do-over. He's not here.
This is team this side. And we're okay. with
Okay.
that.
So,
And how many you were wrong?
well, so what they're saying is, so shall is mandatory, should is,
I don't know what
Sure.
it is.
no, should is, you should do it.
You
but
should do that.
I agree with Michael, we just leave both shalls.
Yeah, shall is like
Every-
our official, like we
In
put,
zoning, shall is, you must, you will do this.
who came up with that?
I don't know.
Who knows? It
I won't
doesn't
name-
matter.
Shall.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's up to us to decide whether we agree or not, or disagree.
All right, yep. 3, they're just taking out a duplicate, so that's fine. We did 5.
They say 1 acre or less.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we just did 1 acre or more.
Yeah, and I think
We're right.
we're right too. I think 1 acre or more is the answer.
Oh, I love that they put 1 acre.
Yeah,
Everything requires, the planning board is everything requires.
let's not editorialize the planning board because there's 7 people and we're 4. We win.
I'm teasing them out
I
of
know.
love
I know.
as their liaison,
Okay.
as the liaison.
Hydrogeological wellhead protection areas. We don't have designated wellhead protection areas that I'm aware of. So I'm not sure. Do you know of it? I don't know that there is any document that shows wellhead protection areas.
Maybe they put it in there thinking for the future.
Well, you can't, because
Well, no, yeah,
if
you
you're
can't.
making it a binding thing, and they are, there's gotta be a map that shows where those areas are.
Yeah, should we ask for clarification on that if they?
No, I don't think, they got their shot, now we get our shot. I mean, we have to send them, ultimately, we have to send them the full code back to them, and they have to comment back on the full code. I just, we don't have designated wellhead protection areas. I think they're implying that we should, but we don't. Do we just take it out?
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
just take it out. Go to that.
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to try to say what they're trying to say in this whole blue section? Because I don't even understand it. I'm reading it. but-
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I don't know how you can say something is going to have adverse impacts on future groundwater users.
Yeah.
oh, I think this is something that we took out that they're asked, that they're telling us to put back in. I remember
Oh, yeah, I remember
Us
that
talking
same thing
about
with the
this.
future groundwater.
for proposed
Yeah.
development projects requiring a hydrogeological study, the determination shall be made that the development project avoids adverse impacts to existing or future groundwater users and or surface waters within 1,500 feet of the project.
I mean, we've already added the first part of 7 in the red, and that's pretty restrictive right there alone. I'll be honest, I understand planning and zoning, and I don't really have a clue what they're trying to say.
I mean, I get what they're trying to say. I agree. I don't know about leaving it in. I
Oh,
agree.
the whole second part is something they say we should be adding in definitions.
Yes, yeah. They're saying like adverse impacts would be reduction in groundwater levels or changes in groundwater quality. The only issue
Within
is it's very
1,500
subjective,
feet.
very
That's-
subjective.
Yeah, and
Too with groundwater draw, like,
1,500 feet is pretty far away too.
but. Yeah, I don't know.
And
It's just-
bear in mind, when you drill a new well, or when you do a new well, you're going through the Board of Health, and they're making you show adequate gallons per minute and stuff. So,
Yeah, I guess, like, I wonder, because they're also, this doesn't have teeth,
yeah,
it's just saying that
it's so very vague.
if adverse impacts cannot be avoided, the applicant must provide adequate mitigation of such impacts,
Right,
which I don't know what that is.
yeah.
Adverse impact to surface water is reductions in the level of flow or water quality needs for beneficial uses.
I think if we're this confused by what it's trying to say, I think everybody's gonna be through.
Yeah,
I
we
think
should
we
just
just,
take it.
take-
not put that.
we leave it as is, because
Yeah.
this whole red section is all new added stuff, and it's already pretty impactful. The county didn't bring any of this stuff up either.
Is there any way to know if a project will have an impact on existing groundwater users?
Well, we have. In the red there, it's still listed the
Yeah, there is.
identified.
Yeah, there is.
Low yield areas in the NYRWA groundwater protection.
They can-
2006, so there's already. a
They can
state
put
road.
monitors. They can put monitors in neighboring wells and
Right.
they did that drawdown test for,
And the AP overlay district is based around the karst aquifer area.
But we don't have anything, I'm just wondering if we leave some of this in, but we reduce that 1,500 feet of the project and take
Well,
out the future.
Yeah, but the thing about water is, underground water, you could be getting your water source from the same source as somebody a mile away from your house in one location, and another location, somebody 25 feet from you is from another water source, because it's all underground bedrock and, moving streams underwater that are all this water supply. So putting a distance is very arbitrary. Because it really depends on the geology of the land underneath.
well, Erin agrees that we should consider taking out the 1,500 feet, but
Well, what Mike is saying is that it's also arbitrary because
Any
you
numbers.
could not
arbitrary.
affect it 25 feet away, but it could affect somebody
Yeah, a
farther
mile.
away.
well, why not have a number at all and just say project avoids adverse impacts to existing or future groundwater?
Well, because then there's no, it could be like. someone
If you
2
leave it
miles
unchecked
away,
with
probably-
any checks and balances, somebody 5 miles away can come in and go, this is gonna affect my well, and, prove me wrong.
I don't like this.
I-
I think we
I-
just leave it as it is.
I don't,
I don't like the wording, like it's way too, like I understand groundwater.
I think 7, the addition of number 7 already is doing a big change already. And I think that's a huge step forward.
Do you remember what is the average household water draw?
Because I think what they're trying to do is saying if you have a large water draw, you have to do a hydrological
Right.
study.
And we already say that in the AP overlay district.
I thought 2,000 was like close to what an average family,
No.
no? But we have where over there.
Well, no, but we were saying that, but we were saying. Every project is gonna have to do this with on-site groundwater withdrawals. And or on.
The average family uses more than 300 gallons of water per day at home. How much water should a family of 4 use? Okay, here, wait a minute. This is, what is average? Water industry estimated an average person uses 3,000 gallons of water monthly. So a family of 4 would use 12,000 gallons monthly. So per day
This is 60,000.
would be like 400.
So why don't we just lower that, because that triggers it that everyone has to do.
Well, a hydrological study is very expensive.
Yeah, we don't wanna.
So this is supposed to be for big,
Like when they were doing the
Like the
grow, the
neighbor.
grow facility, the neighbor.
I'll be very honest, this whole thing was a reaction.
and they did.
And there were
that study.
certain, they did do the study and they came out just fine. But there was a small group of people who just were looking for a reason to not want it.
The only thing that I'm thinking, if we're gonna keep 7 in, is as it is, it's like, you shall do this study, period. So I'm just wondering if we wanna
Check.
say, like, do the study and adverse impacts like should be avoided if possible. I just
Or
don't
do
know
the
what.
study
the point of the
provided-
study is.
provided-
Like, what's the study gonna tell anyone?
But I think what, I still keep wanting to go back to what we added in 7 in the red, which is an add. Kind of does what we're trying to do.
Well, it's just saying you have to have a study done, It doesn't say that you have
Right.
to, what the study would find or.
Well, but you
what-
have to do a study, and the study is gonna show the impacts. The study, a hydrogeological study is a study of the groundwater withdrawal and you know, there's a prescribed format for for what a study is. Study measures the draw and the impacts on surrounding.
And the planning board could then use that in making
In their
determinations.
decision.
Right.
It just requires that artifact be produced
Yeah,
as part of it.
and the 2,000 gallons a day goes back to the aquifer protection zone, which is in this section of code we have here.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Evan. It's not great to do a study if there's no requirements like that.
Well, but it's like saying you have to do a traffic study, you know, the engineers know what a traffic study is. You count the number of cars. So a hydrogeological study is, there is a specific format that you use for a study.
Yeah, I think leaving the red in is fine, taking out the blue.
I was just thinking of it the same way, like a traffic study where even though it's required, if it doesn't find any results, then nothing has to change on the site plan or be done about it, but if it does show results.
So in the AP overlay section, we say any residential uses, including subdivisions with projected on-site groundwater withdrawals and or on-site sewage disposal flows using over 2,000 gallons per day or more during any single 30-day period will be classified. Oh, hydrogeological study shall be required and mitigation, including reduction in intensity or denial of use shall be made. So we're already doing it in the AP overlay zone anyway. We're saying for 2,000 for residential, any commercial, mixed use or industrial use projected with on-site sewage disposal flows over 1,000 gallons per day during any single 30-day period. So now that was their ad, that was the ZRC's ad, but we left it in. I think it's already addressed in the aquifer protection zone, which is the area where we have the greatest concerns. And I lost my spot here, but I think we take it out. I think we just leave it as is with the red. I think it's already addressed.
I'm good with that.
I guess all I'm
Actually-
recommending is that we say, and mitigation shall be made.
Should we say mitigation may be required pending result?
I just realized something though. By including this, we've set up a discrepancy because we're already saying in the AP overlay zone, if you're in the AP overlay zone,
You have to.
you have to do this if it's 2,000 residential and if it's 1,000. So by making this, I think 7 just comes out because it's already in the AP overlay zone. And this is saying included in the AP overlay district or identified as a
Well,
low well year.
the low well yield and the AP overlay zone are not the same.
No, but there's a lot of overlap of them. There are some other individual sites that were low well yields throughout the town. But the bulk of the AP overlay is, because that's the area that, what's his name, from the New York Rural Water Association he wanted us to make that whole area along 209 5-acre zoning because of water.
Yeah.
And we said, can't do that, because that's also, there's competing interests. And that's why he got mad at us and literally took his ball and went home. He wouldn't give us the shape file, he sold it to us after the fact. Because he originally did the study for free, but then when we didn't agree with his conclusions, he got mad and took his results. So we had to pay him a fee to get the shape file later. which kind of soured me on that consulting group.
Good model.
But my point is, if we keep 7, we've set up a discrepancy with the AP overlay zone code.
Well, then maybe we should add the low well yield. Well, you're saying that's a separate section of code just about the AP overlay.
There's
Yeah,
a separate, there's the AP overlay section.
so bear in mind, this is all in lot development standards. So what the ZRC was trying to do is pull in, I mean, we pulled in the steep slopes and that kind of stuff, and that's all well and good. This hydrogeological study, we're already calling for it. So why say it again here, and why say it differently here than the other place?
Do we have any other restrictions in the low well yield area?
There's no, that doesn't exist.
It's not an officially recognized map.
Okay, let's take it.
Oh, so then take
It was
out,
from a
but
study that was never adopted.
Then I say we take it out. So,
I think see in the shadow. Yeah,
It's a real thing in our town that people have low yielding wells. We did not designate a low well yielding overlay district after that.
you want to see the map? I can put it up for you.
No, I've seen that.
I think we take the whole section 7 out.
I take it. If you think we've adjusted it.
Yeah, I think, so we're in agreement, we're taking 7 totally out?
Are you in agreement?
I'm not in agreement, but you guys are a majority, so.
Okay. Charlotte?
I'm fine with taking it out, but I do think we should review that study and then consider adding that back in as a district and adopting it. 2006 was a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
I'm not saying we have to do that like next month,
No,
but
I
I'm
mean,
saying for
that's-
the future. like
that's a major, like, that's an apply for a grant study kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think I'm okay with it in the sense that we're gonna, I know what it's like to have your well run dry. And
I will say though, Aaron, in defense, there is, that particular map was adopted as part of, is included in the comp plan.
It is, yes, it's included in the comp plan, but it's not a overlay zone. So when we include it in this section, we're including more than the AP overlay zone, is all I was saying. But it,
And I'm in agreement with you on that. I just don't think that if we're gonna do that, then we need to adopt that map as part of our zoning code.
And can we do that? Can we add it to our maps?
We can, I just, bear in mind, it was one person study. It was not really, like you said, from 2006.
Yeah, well, so then.
I don't know that it's been properly.
Is this even appropriate in lot development standards?
Well, that's my other question is, it kind of is, because what they're trying to do is say, yeah, now that you say it like that, Michael, no, not really, because it's a review process in order to justify developing your lot.
Right.
So I guess, yes, when you say it out loud like that, yes, I guess it is appropriate in lot development standards. Meaning that if you qualify for this level, then you have to do a study.
Yeah.
But, and I freely admit the one I referenced now was added by the ZRC. It's not the existing language. So we aren't necessarily going to keep it. We can go back to what the existing language said and decide whether we want to keep their suggestion or not. But if we do, they've suggested competing standards.
You're saying the first part of 7 was already in it?
No, what I'm saying is in the AP overlay section of the code that we're going to get to eventually, the 2000 and the 1000 that I read before was a ZRC proposal because it's in red. It's not in the existing
Oh,
code.
I see. Okay.
But my point is, they proposed that there and they proposed different numbers here.
Yeah.
So if we accept this, then we have to change what the AP overlay.
So why don't we do that? I think that's a much better option. We keep this and we'll update the numbers in the AP overlay district so that they match when there's. no
Except
Well, this.
for the moment, we should take out and include it in the AP overlay district and take out the included in the low well yield areas.
This is saying, okay, so I'm just, what this is saying, 7, as it's in our draft,
Mm-hmm.
what that is saying is any proposed development project anywhere in town that has a 2,000 gallon straw or sewage disposal requires a hydrogeological study.
Right.
The AP overlay district says a residential use in the AP overlay district with these numbers requires that. But if it's a commercial use and it's 1,000 in the AP overlay, it requires a hydro.
Right.
So the AP overlay has stricter standards.
Right, so what Charlotte is saying, and I think with the, if we go, when we get to the AP overlay, if we look at the existing code, what I remember is it was 2,000 across the board. I think the ZRC lowered it to 1,000. So what Charlotte is proposing is we leave this here, except what I'm saying is we take out the or identified it in the groundwater protection plan. We end with AP overlay district as a part of the site plan review or zoning permit application process. Actually,
You can just take out AP overlay districts. Because it's the same, I mean.
well, what I'm saying is leave the AP overlay district, and take out the low well yield areas because that map has not been,
But that's the area we're
Codified.
concerned about that needs to be
Well,
tested.
what I'm saying is, this is the thing I'm saying. What I'm saying, this is saying, is
how many
that,
times you gonna say the word say?
is that it's saying anywhere in town.
I understand.
But then it says, or in these other places, which are also anywhere in town. So
But,
like,
but it's saying that they're required.
Oh, okay,
if
I'm sorry,
it's
I'm
using
sorry.
this Water, or if it's in the AP overlay, or
I-
if it's in the low.
Aaron, I missed the or. I think we should just say, take out the word or. So, you just say during any single 30-day period, take out the word or for sites identified included in the AP overlay district. So what we're gonna say here is the same thing that the AP overlay district says, it's the 2,000. And then when we get to the AP overlay district, we're gonna make it just say 2,000. Because 1,000 gallons is kind of crazy.
Yeah, for commercial, that's-
Yeah.
So is that what you want, though? You don't want everyone
No.
that's using that much water.
I
to
get
to
all, the
state
point I
road.
was trying to
I-
make is just that it was redundant to say this or this.
Understand, and that's why I'm saying take the word or out. Take the word or out. We all understand what the point you were trying to make. What I'm trying to do is move on past that and say, take the word or out. So what we're saying is, for sites in the AP overlay district,
I mean,
for
I think we
2,000
should just
gallon-
take it out. This, I
well,
wanted to say, because
but-
it's just in the.
but I understand what we're, yeah, it is in the AP overlay district, but it's kind of, it's not a problem if it says it here as well. But if we keep it here, we should just make it be consistent with the AP overlay district, which is by taking out the word or and taking out the identified as well yield areas in the groundwater protection plan. And leaving all the rest as written and forgetting all the additional.
Sure.
Is everybody okay
So the
with that?
change we're making is,
So we're taking the word or out after the word period. So we're saying for a single 30-day period, 4 sites identified included in the AP overlay district. Okay. And then we're picking up again as a part of the site plan. I don't even think we need that. We just say we end in overlay district and we can take off everything else. The whole thing is a review of the site plan process. So we're taking out the or identified as,
Wait, I thought we were not in agreement on taking up the low well yield areas.
it's not a recognized map.
But we can add it.
We can,
To our maps.
but, you know, I
I think we should move on, because what we're doing here is considering the
planning board recommendations. I think we're getting stuck.
I understand, but but we're also talking, we're not, I think we've all agreed on moving past the planning board recommendations. I would like to talk about the red, which was the ZRC's recommendations in making a change. And that I don't agree that we should recognize the low well yield area map as a recognized document. Even if we adopt it,
Do you know just in terms of planning board?
I mean, I was around when all that was done and it was very opinionated.
In terms of planning board review, because I
Yep.
don't have this top of my mind.
Yeah,
We allow the planning board to require hydrogeological studies in certain circumstances. Or is this the only case where they can do it?
I would have to do a word search of the
Okay.
word. I can't say.
So
yes or
like,
no.
is there any other, like if someone had a project that was like 6,000 gallons of draw, would they have to do it? I mean, they would just have to, that would be like a health department.
Probably, and you know, the planning board can ask for backup information for anything that they have a concern about. So the short answer is, see, what this is doing is making it mandatory.
Yeah.
But, and because of the whole red line code thing, I'm not entirely sure what the existing code is.
Yeah, I think it's shorter.
I mean, we can take it out. We don't have to do the map.
No, but I'm trying to answer Aaron's question.
I'm just curious, like, what's at stake? Because like, if the planning board like can require those studies.
Right, well, see,
Conditionally.
the difference is this is a shall.
Yeah.
So, but I think,
I guess I'm in favor, my stance, and this is why I think we can
I think
move
we
on.
should probably call a break soon here
'Cause-
because I think we're all getting tired.
Yeah.
This is why it's hard to do this after a regular.
Right, and my stance is, this is why I think we should move on, because I just don't think we agree. Because my stance is like, I don't think it's a bad
But
thing.
what, but then if we're moving on, what are we doing? Are we leaving it as is? Because
I think
I
I would
don't like,
defer to what you guys were.
well, that's what I
thought
thought,
the three
that's
of
what I
you-
thought we were doing.
I thought the three of you were proposing striking that whole section out because.
Originally-
the overlay district.
Originally, but then I thought differently of it. And I thought, okay, let's put it in, but let's make it match the, see, what I'm trying to do is see what the actual overlay code says right now. And
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
that's what I'm trying to, but I just keep getting caught up in the discussion, so. Because I think in many cases, the ZRC just went way too far. One 40-18. Okay, this is what it says right now. Any use or activity with projected on-site groundwater withdrawals and or on-site sewage disposal flows averaging 2,000 gallons per day or more during any single 30-day period shall be subject to site plan review by the Town of Rochester Planning Board, regardless of its classification on the schedule of district regulations. So it doesn't say anything about a hydrogeological study. It just says that if you use that much water per day, you have to go to the planning board for site. That's the current code.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, that was a big bone of contention during the original zoning committee because, and that was the consensus agreement of, okay,
Right.
meaning the planning board has to look at it.
And the new one, I mean, we were talking, but it also requires the hydrogeological study and
Yeah.
mitigations. if there's-
I'm okay requiring the hydrogeological study for 2,000 gallons or more per day, knowing that an average household is 400 gallons a day. 2,000 gallons is a lot of water. So I'm okay with it, but I just don't, I think we should just stick with the AP overlay zone, which is already adopted. and take out the low well yield area because that is a map that is of questionable resources.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the AP overlay district was generated by,
This is the original zoning. It was so the AP overlay district was the first zoning review committee way back in 2007. It was a response to that whole New York rural water study.
so it's
And-
based off of rules.
And the boundary of it, we got there's no zoning map in this room, so I can't show you, but we got we got the approximate boundary of it and we drew it over and we said, and it's, when you look at the zoning map, it's the red crosshatch area. And that's the area that is somewhat designed for, or designated as concern of water usage within the town. So we created this overlay district that said certain uses can't occur here. We kept it short and sweet and simple. I think the ZRC has tried to really complicate it. I'm not saying it's valid or invalid, but I think it's too onerous.
So you're saying there's more rigor applied to that than the low well yield?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
You were asking where did the data for the Aquifer Protection Overlay District come from?
Yeah.
Like, how did they come up with the district?
Yes.
It was a boundary that was on the map that the New York Rural Water Association supplied when they did, back during the comprehensive plan process, they did an analysis. They voluntarily, for free, did an analysis of the town. And they presented a whole bunch of zoning recommendations. When the zoning recommendations weren't followed, they got mad and left. But we acknowledged what we did get from them by creating this AP overlay district, meaning it's not necessarily a low water area, but it is an significant aquifer area in the town and should have some additional level of review.
Yeah. But you're saying the low well yield area is separate, it was a separate.
No, the low well yield area is partially in the AP overlay area, but low well yield areas were sporadically throughout the town. Some of them, what he did is he got well drilling information where he could get it, which was different parcels. He didn't get every single parcel. He got like one here, one there. And he came up to these conclusions of this is a low well yield area. But the reason I'm questioning the data is because it was only data that he had availability from the health department of depth of wells, gallons per minute. It was not an empirical study of the entire town. It was just the information that could easily be obtained. And that's my fear, that map is not an accurate representation. It's one person's opinion who, and having dealt with this gentleman, he was very, very opinionated,
But
strongly.
it's the same person that did the basis of the AP overlay district, you're saying?
The AP overlay is the area that was identified as the karst aquifer area.
But the same person did both studies.
Yes and no. It overlapped. So the geological study was done by Chazen.
Okay.
Chazen did a study. The New York Rural Water Association did a study. The information got sort of intertwined to some degree. The AP overlay was a concession that the ZRC, the equivalent of the ZRC, which was the Comprehensive Plan, Zoning Code, and Map Task Force, presented or pulled in and said, okay, let's acknowledge this area as being potentially water challenged. Let's put a little bit of extra layer of review, but let's not make it too onerous that everybody's got to jump through hoops to get through the process.
I
Which
think
is-
we should put it in as you guys were suggesting earlier.
Okay.
And move on, because it's gonna have to go to public hearing
Yep.
anyway, and then we look at the remaining two planning board
And call it a
changes
night.
and then call it a night.
Agreed.
Does that sound?
So
Just take out non-binding, that was just.
I agree with taking it, non-binding guidelines makes no sense. Guidelines are guidelines. That's an easy one to take out. And the other one is,
Okay, so we just edited that.
we didn't just edit E, did we? No, we edited,
Oh, for the fire, oops.
We edited E to add emergency access. Okay, I was just making sure that we,
our lettering doesn't match up with theirs. I'm not sure why.
yeah, but it was E that we added the emergency access. So I just wanted to make sure
Right.
that we, additional vegetation clearing awareness.
Oh, it was the one we edited, you are correct.
Planning board would like to convey the message that vegetation should not be cleared.
I don't agree with
I don't know what this is saying.
that. They're saying.
We're saying minimize clearing of vegetation.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
They want to set a caliper size, and a height of saying you can't take it down if it provides a buffer.
But they also want to say you can't take down vegetation and put up a fence, like if the vegetation is buffered.
Yeah.
They'd rather have you use
No, I don't like.
natural.
No, I'd say we just reject
You
that.
wanna
Yeah.
whack a bunch of forsythia. put up a
I mean,
fence,
I'm
that's your
fine with
problem.
leaving invasive species, clear invasive. So other than that,
We already
I don't
have a
like
section
anything else.
that deals.
That's what I.
Okay, so we're rejecting.
And we're rejecting that one, and there's no other comments on that one. so. Okay,
Oh, but they did say the planning board could not reach consensus on this item.
good.
Flag law.
Flag laws.
Oh. Well, Mark had some very strong comments on flag lots, and I may or may not have printed them. Let's see,
Oh, that he sent
yeah.
Separately.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking flat out.
No, you know what? He talked at public hearing. He
I was
did.
gonna say, I thought it was at a public hearing, he said something about it.
I'll be honest, I'm fine with the flag lots the way they are.
So I feel like we stayed on that one for a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah, we
And
worked that.
we worked that one.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to be in agreement. We are ending at 140-10 is where we're gonna pick up next. 11, sorry.
Thursday. What's that? You got the budget there? Huh?
Oh, I got it all. Listen. Apparently-
Actually, we can pick up at 140-12 because 140-11, there's no
Oh, yeah.
changes. So,
140-12.
hey, we got,
One section done.
no, we got more than that. 1, 2.
Any other affordable housing?
It's quantity.
We got 7 sections done.
Quality, not quantity.
In this case, it's quantity. We did 7 sections. We just did 7
Not all
sections.
sections are created.
That's what I just said.
Understood. Thank you, guys. Let me find my agenda for motion.
I'll take it out. Next.
All right, do you want me to leave it? You want me to keep it for you?
No,
I'll keep it so-
no, I'll leave it in my bag. Satchel.
Here it
We
is.
gotta do it
So
first.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 10.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
I don't have to vote on it.
I have to
You
make a
don't
motion.
care about.
I don't care about ordering.
You don't even have to make a motion if you're done with your agenda.